7 o'clock, so we have a packed agenda, so let's get rolling. We live?
Is that Sean back there? Who's back there tonight? No.
Christine, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right.
Can
Okay.
you hear me?
We're good.
So we are live, so welcome to the Select Board meeting of Tuesday, March 10th, 2026. We have a supersized agenda tonight, so I thank everyone in advance for their brevity. We'll do our best to move things along. We're going to open with community input, followed by appointments. Then we're going to hear about a study for shared services for the communications department with the town of Concord. We're going to get an update on the fire renovation project, along with a presentation of the updated design and project timeline and town meeting logistics. Then we're going to review the safety committee town meeting request, followed by refer a proposed zoning bylaw amendment to the planning board, a call of the caucus to nominate town officers to stand in the annual town election. And then we're going to then move to item 9, which is revising the 5-year road maintenance plan. We're going to debrief on our Benfield visit and talk about some potential follow-up steps, the TA report, review of warrants and minutes, and then close with the usual order of liaison reports, community input, and then adjourn. So lots to get done tonight. I'm going to open it up to community input. Does anyone in the room have any community input they want to provide? Seeing none, I'll open it online. Does anyone online have any community input? Seeing none, let's move to the community appointments. And we have 2 appointments in the packet, one for the Trails Committee and one for the Transfer Station Action Committee. Does anyone want to?
Make the motion?
Sure.
Okay. I move to appoint Patricia Wolf as a full member of the Trails Committee with a term to end June 30th, 2027.
Second.
Was there any additional comment or commentary on that? There was information in the packet about her application. So we'll do a roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Modell, aye.
Snell, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Triola, aye.
And I move to appoint Julie Klein as a full member of the Transfer Station Action Committee with a term to end June 30th, 2027.
Second.
Any further discussion or deliberation? Seeing none, we'll do another roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Modell, aye.
Snell, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Triola, aye. Excellent. So, on to item 3, approval of the study shared services for the communications department with the town of Concord. Are you prepared?
I would wait till 7:15.
7:15? All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead to the end of the agenda, and why don't we do the review of warrants and minutes? There are minutes for our February 24th meeting and our February 25th Benfield site visit.
I have one small correction.
Okay.
Did anybody else notice it, including the chair?
No.
You're referred to as Scott Vanderhoof, who owns the hardware store in Concord.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
Okay, well, I'd like to keep it as a,
Take it.
yeah.
that's the only
Yeah, what-
change.
This is the joy of AI.
I had actually a lot more to
Okay.
discuss on this because I thought the minutes, I was going to find them, didn't really reflect all of the comments. And
About,
For the site visit?
no, this is the other set of minutes.
Okay.
Are you on the first one only? Or?
yeah,
Nope.
the first one was,
What was not covered that you would like to see?
I wanted to find it in here. I made some notes on it. Hold on, sorry. But basically, I was looking, and we talked about this before, and it's really a question of how much do we want to put in minutes? Do we want to have any member discussion? You know, for the discussion, I thought was pretty important when we had about the organic waste ban.
Okay.
And I thought that was an important discussion, and I don't think everyone had the same opinion. There was no mention of your comment in there, Scott, which made it into the mosquito, which was obviously, and there was, you know, and for me, the only comment was he praised the committee's thorough work, on that, which I did, but there isn't my other viewpoint. And so I think either as a board, we need to figure out, you know, what level of this and what, you know, comments If we want to record comments, we can do that. If we want to just say we're not going to record any, maybe we do that. But this was sort of subjective, and it got to a point where, at one point, the comments were, the philosophical tension centered on whether to spend available reserves to address infrastructure needs.
I love that.
And I thought, you know,
We're getting a little.
we're getting a little esoteric, and so I don't know. I think maybe we could revisit these, maybe not right now because we have a lot of people going, but maybe it.
But, okay, so do you want to amend the specific ones or just say fine and then we'll take it as an issue? It's not a new issue. We reflect on it periodically.
I'm more in favor of,
We could table it.
unless specifically requested, less detailed minutes, given that the meetings are posted online. And to your point, you get into these subjective, what comments to include and not include.
For example, it says the board expressed general support for the concept. This was regarding
Yeah.
the ban. And I don't know, that's a subjective, you know, and if we feel that for our minutes, that's great. But I just think minutes, in my view, should be more specific as to, we voted on this, we
Yeah.
did this.
We
and
discussed,
rather-
All right, but I mean, I don't think Gretchen is deviating from prior practice.
This is not a commentary on her.
Right.
She's
Right.
doing a good job.
Right.
This is the
so-
evolution of AI
Right.
and.
So
Right.
we can, let's say we can do a couple things. We can either approve them or punt on the minutes in front of us. Separately, though, I think we should, if that's an important issue, which it is kind of, I think we should do some survey of what other towns do on, what is the practice, right? And maybe sit with Gretchen and figure it out. I mean, maybe using AI is not great. Like, maybe just listen to the recording and pick out what you think's important. I mean, there's over-reliance, I don't know if she's using AI or not, but there's clearly over-reliance on AI is a pitfall. We know that.
When you do get to this point where you have more detail than you'd have from someone taking minutes, and it's. there's a
I never
narrative.
use AI. I trust me and I don't trust AI. But I recognize that,
Yeah.
people use it as a labor savings.
Yes.
I
I
kind of
think
agree with
she-
Scott. There's a lot out there that, go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead, Christine.
Yeah, I just was going to say, she uses AI. It's a huge time saver for her, and then she rereads it afterward. And, sometimes the reread afterward, you miss things because it all sounds very legit and whatnot, but maybe a little bit more guidance. I agree, the discussion on the Transfer Station Action Committee, there was a lot of confusion that arose after the mosquito article. I feel like the minutes themselves were fairly accurate, could have used a little more detail. The confusion arose after the mosquito article.
So with regard to the minutes in front of us, do we want to hold off on approving these minutes? Let's do that. Why don't we discuss
Take
this
'em up,
tomorrow?
The next one.
Or, why don't we discuss this tomorrow?
Yeah.
And have revised minutes, and a report out at our next meeting? Because I tend to, as someone who wrote minutes for many years on different committees, I tended to discuss, you go by the agenda, you list out some of the bullet point, points raised, and then it's a vote, and then you're on to the next. Whereas I think a lot of the minutes now are becoming more narrative and more, as you say, subjective. And I'm not sure where the right dividing line is on that.
But there's two different, Scott, there's overlapping issues, right? So the pre-AI minutes were either a meeting was held, a discussion was held,
Yeah.
or you go into detail. Like, that's been a thing forever, right?
Right.
Now, because AI is helpful and you get all this stuff, there's an overlay of also, okay, somebody's telling you what's important.
Right,
Somebody else has to be the arbiter of, is that really important?
right.
So it's a substantive discussion. It deserves its own thing, which I think might be like a post-town meeting, next board. I mean, it's a
Fair.
longer
We're busy.
term.
We're
Yeah.
busy. I just bring this up because I didn't think it reflected our discussion for the
Yeah.
transfer station.
Right, but that's the pitfall, right?
Right, and I,
Can you do you have comments that you can send to Gretchen?
I didn't edit them
Okay.
specifically, but I could, sure.
Was
do
it
that.
specifically when we discussed tomorrow, was it specifically focused on the transfer station, or were there
Yes.
other points? Okay.
That was it.
So
And,
let's,
and the comment I made about the philosophic, you
Yeah.
can see how the language becomes,
Yeah.
you know,
no, I know, yeah.
flowery.
And how my last name becomes Vanderhoof.
Yeah.
All right, so we will revisit those minutes, and let's make that a bullet point for tomorrow's discussion. We still have 5 minutes.
We could vote the Benfield if he's
Yep.
not in objection of the.
Yeah, that set of minutes.
Yeah. Are we okay with that one?
I am.
Yep.
I wasn't
Wow.
present, so I will.
Okay.
Wait, there was, what was it? Oh, so I just wanted to clarify that, so those minutes, let's see which follow these. The list of concerns that are included in those minutes, let's see.
That
is
was
this it?
me.
Yeah, Benfield Farms, okay. The, so starting Appendix A.
Yes.
I think it would be worth putting, just putting a comment at the beginning that says, because this is the list that the
right.
residents had filled out and then handed, on a piece of paper to Aubrey. And that's why they're kind of funky, right?
Right.
Or, the number one is missing and some of the others, the numbering's
There's no
off.
number one complaint.
Exactly. So that's my only comment on this
Okay.
one, is that, and if you want, we could just say as amended to reflect
But,
that
I mean, was that a typo of the minute taker, or did the list have no number? I mean, the point is, it says like the residents submitted this list.
Well, it doesn't say that,
Well, it kind of does.
So we were handed this document
yeah.
Right.
as we were
It
leaving.
says,
Right.
where does it say? Select Board agreed to review the complaints to include the attached summary.
Oh, I'm
Appendix A.
sorry. I didn't
So
s-
it kind of
okay.
infers that.
Gotcha. Well, maybe
So
to
my-
say this,
Yeah.
Appendix A, list provided by residents. of
Right.
Benfield.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
separately, maybe more substantively, we need to curate this list. We're
Yeah.
gonna talk
That's
about
a
it later.
separate issue, yeah.
And we'll figure that out, right?
And we'll make sure that was the list, if there was no number one, and it's just not in America.
I would just repeat rent. The rent's too damn high.
Okay. So we'll amend Appendix A to say, list provided by Benfield residents.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Do you want me to do the motion?
Yep. Do the motion as amended.
I move to approve the minutes of the February 25th, 2026 Select Board meeting as amended tonight. Period.
Do we have a second?
David.
Okay. Any further discussion or deliberation? Roll call vote.
Arnold, aye.
Model I.
Snell, aye.
Stevens abstain. Triola, aye. Okay. 7:13. You close enough?
Go for it.
Are you ready to?
Popular item.
All right, so we're moving on to item 3 on the agenda, which is approval to study share services for the Communications Department with the town of Concord. And just as a procedural note is I will open this up to public comment after the presentation. However, I want to be clear that the scope of tonight's discussion is in regard to our participation in a study on shared services. So any comment should be directed on our participation in the study on shared services, not on the general merits or of shared services in the future. That's down the road. So that's my caveat. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. If you could just introduce yourself.
Sure. Stephen Johnson. I'm the Emergency Communications Center Manager for the town of Concord. Ryan, do you have the presentation available? I'll have Ryan share that with you, and then I can go through that presentation a bit. Feel free to interrupt me with questions along the way if you'd like, but I can just go through, and then hopefully I can answer questions as the material goes through, and then welcome questions afterwards. So again, my name is Stephen Johnson. I provide executive level leadership to the Concord Emergency Communications, including our combined police, fire, and emergency medical service, emergency communications center, its personnel, its operations, and the town's communications infrastructure. I began my career as a frontline public safety dispatcher, and I've served at various levels of responsibility within the field of emergency communications, small size, mid-size, and large city centers. And I also have, in addition to my background in emergency communications, I have a background in emergency medical services, serving in volunteer, call, and career EMS agencies in Connecticut prior to my relocation to Massachusetts. Including service at the shift commander level as well, which has provided me with a unique perspective, having worked on both sides of the radio. So I'm here along with Chief Tom Mulcahy of the Concord Police Department and Brian Whitney, Chief of the Concord Fire Department, and on behalf of Concord's Town Manager, Carrie LaFleur, to discuss partnership or potential partnership with the Town of Carlisle as Concord moves towards a shared services model, exploring what that model would look like potentially. And so tonight I'll share with you what's motivating us a little bit to embrace that, to walk in that direction. It may be relevant to you, and then detail our next steps and have some conversation. And the next slide would be great.
Stephen, if I would, just for 1 second. So this was a select board goal to explore regional services. Communications was one of those. The town of Concord did approach us, and this presentation is their presentation to you about that. For the clarity in the AI era.
Thank you for the clarity. Slides not made with AI. Okay.
Ryan Gosling, Town
That's going to
Administrator.
be the new.
I know, the new
note that
disclaimer,
you're going
I'm
to
sure.
attach, right, to things.
AI free.
So why now? Why is Concord considering this? The reality is the landscape of 911 and emergency communications is changing in several important ways, both nationally and in the Commonwealth. First, staffing has become a significant challenge across the country. Massachusetts is not exempt from that. Emergency communications is a highly specialized profession, requires extensive training, and many centers are experiencing recruitment and retention challenges. Second, there is an increasing emphasis on redundancy and resiliency. Like many other communities, we're looking at how closely at how we ensure continuity of operations during major incidents, technology failures, staffing shortages. And thirdly, the cost and complexity of the technology that supports modern emergency communications continues to increase, and often not in direct correlation to the increases in funding. And radio infrastructure, recording systems, call handling, cybersecurity requirements, other critical systems require significant investment and ongoing maintenance, while the available technologies, including advanced location services, artificial intelligence, next-gen 911 multimedia, Internet of Things, all those other advancements are revolutionizing the way the work in 911 is done, and but the funding is not always there to support that. And then lastly, the Commonwealth is actively encouraging regional collaboration through state 911 incentive programs and state grants designed to help communities plan and transition to a shared service model. At the most recent meeting of the State 911 Commission, just this past week, a preliminary report was released by the State 911's chosen consultant, Mission Critical Partners, that demonstrates that regionalization in Massachusetts is effective and working and accomplishing the goals that the state is seeking to accomplish. So it further implores us to consider that as a possibility for us as well. And communities that explore these options earlier have more options. And you'll see on my next slide a little bit about what it's looking like in the Commonwealth as the narrowing opportunities for partnerships exist. But what is paramount is public safety. All decisions should be made for public safety with public safety in mind. And so as a resident of Massachusetts, that would be what I would hope my leaders would be using as their guide. And I believe that shared services does enhance public safety. So the next slide, this is the current landscape. This is a smaller scale. It's just a view of what the different colors represent PSAPs, public safety answering points, throughout the Commonwealth now. So if they're the same color, that means they're sharing services currently. In 2008, there were 264 PSAPs. Those are primary public service answering points. Those are the primary 911 centers for those jurisdictions. In 2022, there were 212. That's quite a reduction from 264 to 212. And as we started in 2026, there were 194, and which reveals an increase not just in regionalized centers, but at the rate of regionalization. And the most recent commission meeting, more partnerships were announced, and that 194 number continues to decrease. So
Stephen, on the western side of the state,
yes,
these huge swaths of towns share
that's correct.
one dispatch service?
They have one dispatch center. That's correct. With yes.
Wow.
So with the new study released, the preliminary findings released by State 911, and with the model that we're seeing in the state, its regionalization is not going anywhere. It wasn't a trend that was started and is disappearing. It is going to become, I think, the longer term model that the state is going to highly incentivize. And so,
And
yes.
how does Massachusetts compare to other states with regard to
It's a great question.
PSAPs and
Yeah.
My understanding is in a lot of the country, it is already regionalized.
Yeah, so Massachusetts and Connecticut, in particular, both of the states, are very unique in the sense that most places, each municipality has its own PSAP, except for where you're seeing regionalization grow. Throughout the rest of the country, and I do have the privilege to travel and speak in different places and consult, most of them are doing county-based 911. Now that's because they have formal county government.
Right.
There's a structure there that can
Right.
support a county-based service. But even where there's not, you're seeing some regionalization happen everywhere. And you're starting to see larger cities remain independent, say like a Portland, Oregon, or a Boston, here. But the other communities are starting to share services because it's just not sustainable long-term, particularly when there's so much disparity between communication centers as to pay, as to requirements, as to training standards. One of the things that Massachusetts does a good job at least of fundamental training, but if you call for a police officer in any town in Massachusetts, you get a police officer that's going to enforce state law, right? There might be some local ordinances, but you know what you're getting. Same with firefighting, right? Things are going to change, so maybe as far as run cards and response plans, but you're getting, the same expectation of service, right? 911 is a little bit different. You can call in one jurisdiction, you get one emergency medical dispatch program, you get one set of policies and procedures, you get one staff that's trained to one level, and then you get a different experience as you cross municipal lines. And the state is aware of that, and Massachusetts has been a leader in the country of trying to standardize at least basic level training. But the rest of the country is not doing that. So that's why you're seeing these shared services regional models much more effectively and utilized because we're recognizing that disparity exists. And so the Commonwealth is also trying to minimize that disparity, and that's one of the things that regionalization shared services is one approach to that. As you look at the next slide, you'll see a zoomed in view of where we are in the Commonwealth. And you can kind of see we exist in what I've been calling the sea of white. So most communities continue to operate independently. I don't think that will be the picture in 10 years. I think you'll see more and more communities are looking to share services. And you'll see that our communities are surrounded by regional centers. And as these regional centers are growing and expanding, I'm anticipating that you're going to see the sea of white slowly become a lake and then maybe become a stream. And the options for partnerships are going to narrow as time progresses. Right? Each municipality has an opportunity to explore different partnerships that make sense for them, if at all. But starting now, having these conversations a little bit earlier in this, where we are in kind of the zeitgeist, I think is a little bit is better because it affords us more options for potential partnerships as opposed to time progressing. And now you look to the left, you look to the right, you look to the north, you look to the south, and you're just kind of, your options are limited. And so we see this as an opportunity, and this is why we're kind of looking to do this now, at least explore these options to have a PSAP that reflects our shared values and priorities. And for Concord and for any potential partner communities, that includes maintaining a very high standard of service, what I've often described as a white glove approach to emergency communications, where dispatchers know their communities, understand local geography, provide a high level of professional service, understand the culture, and they know their first responders.
So Stephen, this is Christine Stevens.
Hi, Christine.
I'm a select board member here in Carlisle as well. Does the emergency communication system work through Concord's normal communication infrastructure, which is notably poor? I mean, I'm worried about calls being dropped, things not going through. Tell me you use some other different system.
Yeah, it's the state 911 system.
Got
So, the state 911 takes care of their own infrastructure. So as long as calls can reach a tower, wherever it may be, it's the towers and the wireless, and then residential, it's a little bit of a different system. But it's the towers are set to essentially, I'll use very watered down, I guess, language. They're programmed to go to a specific PSAP. And so depending upon where you are, you hit a tower with your cell phone, or if it's your address, your residential address, you go to the PSAP assigned to that tower or to that jurisdiction. So it won't rely upon, say, a T-Mobile structure or a Verizon or what have you. It depends upon the
It just
network
knows
you have
where you
available
are
to you.
and
Yeah.
So what's the difference between a PSAP and a rec?
So a PSAP is a public service answering point. That's the point that 911 processes your 911 calls.
Okay.
A REC is a regional emergency communications center. Now, a PSAP can double as a REC, right? So let's just say that the municipalities agree, they form a REC, there's a regional communications center, that becomes the PSAP. There are also arrangements where perhaps a PSAP exists in a municipality, but they want to transfer the medical calls to somewhere else, and so they can transfer that to the REC, and the PSAP still exists within the municipality. So the next slide, you'll see there's two models, a hosted versus a district model. As part of this exploration, it's important to understand that there are generally two primary models that the state supports, and that is the hosted model and the district model. The model Concord is currently exploring is the hosted model, and under that structure, one municipality serves as the host for the regional communication center. The employees working in the center are employees of that host municipality. The center operates within the municipality's organizational structure. So administrative functions, just payroll, human resources, related support are handled by the host community, and then through any contractual arrangements. And government and oversight are established through intermunicipal agreements.
So in the humongous districts in the western part,
Yeah.
which model do they hew to typically?
So they are operated by state 911, so it's a little bit different. So they are. It's a good question because I'm not sure their exact governance. I'd have to check, but because they're operated by state 911, it's arranged a little bit differently. To
So
my
when
understanding.
if you live in, I don't know, Northampton, wherever it is, and you call, like, that person could be 100 miles away or 50 miles away, and
Yeah, they're going to be in that rec that's assigned.
wherever they are.
Right.
And somebody takes care of the HR, one town does, or do you think the state?
Well, they're going to be state employees.
But
So
in this
yes.
case, it would be like you guys, right?
Right, correct. Yes.
And by you guys, let me just make sure I'm understanding this correct. Is this like a joint board with Concord as the lead municipality, or is there some sort of regional authority that we all,
Sure.
you know?
I think a lot of that is yet to be seen based upon a feasibility structure, a study, and the input from the interested communities. So it'd be a bit premature to say exactly how governance would look. But the way that we are imagining a hosted model would be that they would become employees of the town of Concord, and that our town would support those as our personnel. But governance and decision making and operations is a whole other subject matter.
Okay.
For understanding, so we share a veteran services director with Lexington and Bedford.
Yeah.
That's a hosted model, so that's a Lexington employee who works through us, and it's all guided by an intermunicipal agreement that you sign.
Right.
A district model is more like the high school,
Right.
where they have their own governance and structure.
And that is the other model that exists as well for regional emergency communication centers, a district model. But Concord's focusing on the hosted model, mostly because it can provide a more practical and efficient path to regional collaboration, while still allowing partner communities to define governance, expectations, and local protocols through formal agreement.
Is Concord interested in a hosted model in which they are not the host?
I would have to confer with my town manager. I think that would probably, to speak to her about that. I think we would look to a feasibility study to kind of guide our thought process. I mean, public safety is paramount, and that's going to be the number one virtue that guides our decision making. But from my conversations with my leadership, currently Concord's seeking to host, but a feasibility study would also identify other possibilities. So I can go through a little bit and share with you some of the benefits of why we're considering this move. There's a variety of benefits, and I'll try to make these not redundant for you, just higher level. So staffing benefits, one of the most significant advantages of a regional communications model relates to staffing and workforce sustainability. By bringing multiple communities together into a shared communications center, it becomes possible to maintain dedicated staffing for different aspects of emergency communications, including 911 call handling, non-emergency or business line calls, training functions, and radio dispatch operations. And regional centers can also help reduce overtime, enforced overtime, which is a growing challenge in many centers across the state. And reducing pressure on the workforce can significantly improve overall employee wellness and help reduce burnout in what is already a very demanding profession. A larger center allows for stronger supervision and leadership structure, as well as improved opportunities for recruitment, retention, and long-term career development within the profession. And finally, regional centers can support more structured and consistent training programs, ensuring that dispatchers receive ongoing professional development and that training standards remain strong and consistent over time. The next slide covers a little bit of operational benefits. In addition to workforce benefits, regional emergency communications centers can provide several important operational advantages. One operational benefit of regional collaboration is the ability to maintain consistent policies and procedures within the communications center itself, which helps ensure that emergency calls are processed in a professional, consistent manner. It's important to note that that does not mean changing how police, fire, or EMS agencies operate in the field. Each community continues to maintain its own operational practices, leadership structure, response models. The goal is simply to ensure that the communication side of the operation is handled consistently and professionally, while still supporting the unique needs and operational approaches of each participating agency. Regionalization can also reduce the need to transfer calls between agencies. This does happen. So let's just say someone is up by a town line, they call 911, they reach our PSAP in Concord, we say, hold on, we get the address, we get the phone number, we confirm the nature of the emergency, we have to get all that before we transfer. Happens to be that I'm in Carlisle, okay, please stay on the line, I'm gonna transfer you to Carlisle. We pray that that call does not get dropped because things happen, and then that call gets transferred to your dispatcher, within your PSAP. We relay the information. You can imagine that that call transfer takes critical seconds and could be someone's worst moments.
I assume the study would quantify that.
Yes, and the state has done some work in that as well as to how regionalization reduces transfers and the seconds that it can save and so on. So yes, there's data available to support that. From an incident management standpoint, having a larger communication center with multiple trained personnel on duty can enhance coordination during complex, high-demand incidents involving police, fire, EMS, especially when field units are supported by the same emergency communications center. And of course, there's the resiliency. Regional centers can significantly reduce single points of failure and make it possible to maintain operations even during potential equipment failures, major incidents, other disruptions, and it also affords a possibility for true backup centers. It's, a lot of us don't afford the luxury of having a backup 911 center within our same jurisdiction to operate two 911 centers independently. Regionalization does allow for some redundancy to happen there. And then finally, by sharing our infrastructure across multiple communities, regional centers can support more robust and modern communication systems that benefit all participating agencies. And as we kind of round second and get to third base here in this presentation, we can talk a little bit about some of the financial benefits. Finances, of course, are a factor and they're a serious consideration, but I don't think that finances should be the only consideration. I'll say that. Just public safety should be the consideration, and efficiency and workforce retention and workforce morale, and finances, of course, are a part of that as well. So I want to hedge any concerns that, we're just doing this to save money. No, it's not solely the consideration, but it is a benefit. So one of the most important is the ability to share the cost of major systems and infrastructure. Modern 911 operations rely on complex and expansive technology and expensive technology. And regional models allow those costs to be distributed amongst multiple communities rather than being borne by a single municipality. We are all paying for some of the same services and then having different level of services across municipal lines. Greater long-term budget predictability is a benefit of regionalization, as well as access to additional grant opportunities from State 911 Department, which has established development incentive programs specifically designed to fund or partially fund and incentivize centers to embrace these models. And then, of course, there's just some kind of common sense pooling resources, efficiencies, and that allows us to open up other opportunities for our staff. Training coordination, quality assurance, IT support, administrative services, other roles that may not otherwise exist, and that we can reduce the costly system failures or emergency infrastructure replacements that all of us are facing. And then lastly, strategic benefits. There's clearly long-term benefits for the sustainability of emergency communication services. As the demands on 911 systems continue to evolve, communities that plan collaboratively are better positioned to maintain strong and reliable service over time. give us a healthier financial picture, provides the centers with a strengthened position within the state and within the broader public safety communications environment. Regional centers can support a stronger talent strategy, providing more opportunities for leadership development, professional growth, long-term continuity of operations, allow us to think more strategically about infrastructure, technology, and risk management, and ultimately contribute to maintaining public trust and confidence in our emergency communications system, which is something that every community depends on. So what are our next steps? Our next steps, we can, just for the sake of time, I'll cover this in the next slide too. Our next steps are to pursue the State 911 Development Grant. Concord has identified a partner already, the town of Lincoln, and we intend to apply for the State 911 Development Grant to fund a feasibility study. That study would allow participating communities to carefully evaluate governance, operational models, financial considerations, and service impacts before any decisions are made. As part of that process, communities would likely engage in data sharing, site visits, the consultation with State 911 Department and with a chosen consultant, and other planning activities that would help inform the feasibility study. And we're hopeful that the town of Carlisle may wish to participate in this exploration. If this is something that the board is open to considering, the next step would simply to be a letter of attestation, including indicating Carlisle's interest in partnering with Concord in studying the potential formation of a regional emergency communications center as part of the State 911 Development Grant application. While we remain optimistic about long-term partnership, no commitment is being requested tonight beyond participation in the feasibility study process. The purpose of the study would be to give all the participating communities the information they need to determine whether regional collaboration ultimately makes sense. If this exploration moves forward, my commitment is to ensure that the process is transparent, collaborative, and mindful of the needs of the participating communities. Regional emergency communications works best when it reflects the values and expectations of the communities they serve, and I take that responsibility very seriously. At the end of the day, this conversation is simply about ensuring that emergency communication systems remain strong, resilient, and sustainable for the future. So that is the end of my presentation. I welcome any comments or questions from the board.
Yep. Sorry. We've discussed this, and without any commentary to Stephen, I think a lot of this is compelling, right? The financial, the resilience, the technology, the sustainability. However, I do want to point out that we have very consistent and professional service delivery now.
Sure.
With our highly professional staff.
Yes.
So I'm not sure that is a thing that would improve by a regional agreement.
Yeah, and don't mean to cut you off. If at all my presentation applied that, I apologize.
It didn't.
Certainly would not think anything that is an area that would need improvement.
I just wanted to point that out, that
Yeah, thank you.
we are highly consistent and professional.
Good.
Can you clarify the grant funding, and you said select a consultant? What is the nature of the actual assessment? I mean, is it, this presentation focuses on the benefits?
Sure.
My hope, if we were to get more information from a feasibility study, would be a fairly objective look at where individual communities look to gain and or lose in such a scenario.
Yes.
So I would expect that Carlisle, for Carlisle's piece, we would get a information specific to Carlisle about how our services, when you say standardized, that means services can be brought up or they can be brought down, right? So an assessment of our current service level, how it might benefit or be negatively impacted by such an agreement, some of the implications for Carlisle would be most useful. So would this study be independent in that respect?
Yeah, so it would be a third party that would do this analysis. Typically, the way these feasibility studies read are they take each individual PSAP, they do an analysis of their operation, and then they look at what are the benefits or the disadvantages of bringing those PSAPs together. So it would be an objective analysis. We certainly would not want to ever lower a standard. Regionalization should only raise a standard. And to Ryan's earlier comments, there may be standards that you all are utilizing that would be the bar, right? So, and that would be something that we would identify in a feasibility study.
What's the time frame for this?
It's a
I mean, I think I read that the deadline was April 15th.
That's right.
And then looking out from that, how long to study? How long? Like, what's
Sure.
the overall?
Yeah, so the deadline is the 15th, and then that would be for the next fiscal year's award. So we wouldn't be looking at until after July 1, beginning that study. It depends on the vendor that is utilized. I mean, we're going to get a budgetary quote to get a grant award, but then we can work collaboratively to figure out what it makes sense as far as the vendor that's selected. And then once the vendor selected, it's going to be up to their process. Our hope is that this is all concluded in the first half or so of the upcoming fiscal year. But that's our hope, the study. So we can look at making decisions for the next fiscal year and whatever those decisions may be. But I don't want to put the cart before the horse as to what those decisions would be.
And those decisions, is that I don't know how that works in town government. Is that a town meeting decision to enter or not enter agreements? Or is that
It depends on what,
oh, I see.
I don't want to punt, but it depends on what the study says.
Right. Okay.
There's a lot yet to be seen. We just want the opportunity to explore it.
And with Lincoln, they're already on board with this,
That's
correct?
correct.
Are you talking to other communities as well?
Right now, we're looking to start with our closest neighbors, and we think that would be the best suited partners. So we're looking to start with Carlisle and Lincoln. I say start because if this becomes something in years to come, in 5, 6, 7 years, who knows? I just want to, where other communities look to us and see the excellence we're providing, sure, that could be a possibility.
And who are you working with if you were to get the grant, who are your points of contact within the communities? Is it, so with Lincoln, who do you work with to craft the study to do that? Are you forming like a regional committee to do that, or?
Well, once we get the approval from the state, we would have obviously the town management would have to designate who those folks are. So we'll have liaisons in each department, police and fire and so forth. And then the chosen vendor would, make appointments to come in, and whoever town leadership designates.
And does is the result of the study conclude with any kind of recommendation? Or is it more factual? This is what we found, and these are potential benefits or disadvantages?
My understanding is that it concludes if it's feasible and it makes sense for those communities, if there is a benefit to be gained. I don't know if they do recommend, highly recommend, levels of recommendation, but it's just, does this make sense to proceed?
Okay.
Do you feel, you speak like you will get the grant? I guess you've been notified you were selected to receive it, or you qualify for the reception of the grant?
I speak confidently because I don't see a reason why we wouldn't, but I also know we won't know until we apply. It's a competitive
You haven't
grant
yet
process.
applied?
No.
And not
because
everybody gets it that applies?
we would have to explain to the state the state has a number of priorities that they're considering, and that includes within the grants. So you've got existing regionals, newer regionals that are looking to form. So they're going to go through their priorities. We've been in conversation with the state. We have no guarantees, but we won't know until we apply.
So, and if you didn't get it, would you still do the study, or what would you do then?
I think at that point, from my conversations internally,
Yeah.
the answer is likely yes, but we would then have to identify funding sources.
So the grant comes to Concord, presumably, and you do the study of the 3 towns, if everybody agrees, right?
Right.
And there's not really a cost to us other than give time to provide you
Precisely.
information. So, I don't know, Lincoln's situation, you have a all-professional fire department, or a call, or a hybrid, what do you guys?
We have a full-time fire department.
And Lincoln has,
Lincoln has chief.
Yeah, a combination.
Combination.
we're like us, sort of, or we're a little more? Okay.
Chief?
Chief Saros?
Yeah, so they're much more of a career department than we are.
Okay.
It's on a career model.
Yeah.
They're call people, sit in the station, waiting for calls.
So that's one of the nuances. Have you scoped this study then? I mean, there's more work in that.
There's a lot of factors that are yet to be reviewed,
Yeah.
right? And so I think this is the very beginning of the conversation,
Yeah.
to say, hey, this is the path we see ourselves
But I
going
mean, if
down.
we raised our hand and said, we'd like to be part of it.
Sure.
Then you're embracing studying us as us, right?
Oh, of
Part of the
course.
study.
Yeah, yes. No, I understand your question better. Yeah,
I mean, that's what I mean,
right,
being part of
yes.
the study.
Yeah, right.
You
No.
have to look at all aspects.
Yeah.
And can I ask our dispatch department, just on a very rough sense of the number of calls, how many, like on a percentage basis, EMT, fire, and police, like how does it break down typically? Can you answer that?
Well, police calls and fire and EMS, but
I mean, does it break down, like, is it mostly What's it mostly? I'm just curious, the nature of the calls are more what?
How do you get a dump sticker?
What? That's a daytime call, right?
They're all over the place. We're the only 24/7 operation, so everybody calls us for
For everything, okay.
So they get some, DPW as well, they get some animal control, they get some, there's kind of a full range.
Full range, right?
But obviously the police are called much more often.
The police are the,
Right. And then there'd be EMS and then fire.
is that also your experience?
I would say, I mean, I share their experience. I mean, I echo their
No,
sentiments.
people call about
I mean,
garbage and
yeah, I mean,
roads and everything.
the only 24/7 department. People are calling about everything and anything. You know, and we do get a higher volume of medical calls, so our fire department's busy in that regard. But we also service a lot of police business line calls as well.
Stephen, are you looking at any other towns besides Lincoln and Carlisle?
Not at this time, but you know, we would be open to other partnerships in the future if they would become feasible.
Are there any comments from?
A question here, Scott.
Go ahead,
So,
Christine.
Stephen, as you look to compile these various aspects that you guys are considering, can we email you with comments, questions, suggestions that you can take into consideration when you're shaping your study?
Sure.
And if so, where do we send those?
Yeah, sure. So I can share my contact information. I can leave my card here with Brian. How do you think it's the best to get it to
I'm
everybody?
assuming that we'd have significant representation in any scope.
Well, so yeah, so
Sure.
I would say I would not say that I'm shaping the study. I just want to kind of respectfully kind of push back on that a little bit, just to say because each person's going to be a participant in the study. We're all going to shape the study, and we're all going to take a look at what works best for our our municipalities and our teams and our departments and so forth. So I would say that everybody would have a voice in directing the way this work goes. But I also would imagine that these consultants have a format that they follow, and they're experienced in how they approach these matters. And
The
so we're
grant
also
is
going
paying for a consultant to
right.
guide you
That's
or-
exactly right. So
They've
we're
done
going to
other
trust
things.
their expertise.
I don't want to get Carrie in trouble, but her favorite restaurant is Fern's, so I'm sure we would figure it out there.
It's still gonna be called Ferns?
All right, I know we have a lot of business to get to. This is an
So what's
important
next for
topic.
us, Mr. Chairman?
So the question,
Comments.
one, I wanted to see if there are any comments about Carlisle's participation in the study. And then two, we need to decide if we want to, as a select board, say that we're,
Vote to
yeah, vote-
participate.
Interested.
this letter of attestation or whatever.
Okay, that was my question.
So is there any comment about our participation in the study? Obviously, this is a complex issue that will, yeah, Chief
I think just
Anadol.
from the police standpoint, I just want to make sure like that it's just not a basic feasibility study that comes back with generic facts
Right.
and data. Like I want it really to be specific to Carlisle.
Right.
And to also consider things like, speaking to other chiefs that have mentioned, regional dispatch centers and whatnot, they're now staffing the front of the station with civilian people, which is now an additional cost to the town. So inside of the study, I would like for those things to be considered as well.
I'm not clear on that last point, Andrew.
So dispatchers also play a role in being the front of the station. When somebody comes in, they meet and greet.
Right, okay. But you wouldn't have that in this
So
model.
dispatch centers that have gone regional are now hiring civilians
I see.
to staff that, which is also an additional cost.
And the
to
untold
town. It's
cost
not
of, yeah.
untold, yes.
But are there different, that's a question that came to my mind, are there, like we were talking about, in a different context, a superintendent's union, or in other times a police union, where there's a precinct model where the communications center is still there, physically is there, but there's, shared labor. I mean, one of the tyranny of small, numbers in any organization, as the chiefs know very well, is how do you staff for everything if you're very small, right? So there's a advantage to having a bigger footprint. You can move some people around, you can send them up to Carlisle, but there would still be like a precinct dispatch. Is that at all a consideration, or this is a pure consolidation of?
Typically,
Sorry, was that to me or did?
Well, it's really to Stephen, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
Chief, did you want to add further comment to that?
No, I was just gonna say, in regards to the study, like looking at a house model, if you're entertaining it, also understanding what the district model brings to the table as well, and getting the whole picture.
All right.
And I think there's a variety of solutions that PSAPs have embraced throughout the Commonwealth.
So there
to
are
solve
others,
this
there's
issue.
examples of both.
Right.
There's capital concerns there too, but I'm sure the study.
Sure, yeah, of course.
So the select board, I mean,
More data is always better, you know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, I don't object to participating in a study. The chief's point, I want to make sure that Carlisle has the appropriate representation, and the output of that study is
Well,
specific.
yeah, to the chief's
But
point.
that's for us to manage.
Yeah, I mean, there's maybe more than two, but there's certainly two components. There's what's feasible.
Right.
Given our different natures and on-call versus professional fire and blah, blah, blah. And then what money would it save if, you first have to see what's feasible, like, is it even feasible? And if it's feasible, what economic and other advantages that Stephen identified can
Yeah.
accrue from that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm in, sure, why not study?
We talked about it's not just about the economic impact, it's about service level
Yeah.
and so forth, but we have a very good service level right now, so.
And getting back to our goals, looking at shared services is one of our goals, and this is
Mhm.
one of the items that we at least should consider. Is there a motion in the,
There is
Yeah,
one.
you got
There it is.
a comment.
Do you wanna, there's
Mr.
some-
Chair, Chief
Yes.
Soros has a comment.
Sorry.
Chief Soros.
yeah,
I'd say a
Chief,
couple
Chief
things.
Soros?
One of the things that they will need to be looking at is exactly what you brought up, and that is, we dispatch for fire very differently than anybody around us. It's one of the reasons we've remained called, is because we do it differently. And so we wanted that to be part of what they look at, is preserving that.
Mhm.
I think the other thing to consider and just be thinking about in terms of this is, we have good people,
Mhm.
and you're gonna wanna keep them until something happens, until you made a decision, and that's a hard thing to do. And we need to be thinking about that as well, that we wanna keep our good people and keep our dispatch center and not give them the idea that something's gonna happen when we haven't made a decision. So that's we need to be careful about that.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I think a study could also reinforce a decision to maintain the model we have. So I just want to be clear about that. I think this is really an opportunity to get some information, some outside thinking, and that's,
It's always good.
That's
Data's
always good.
Don't be afraid of data.
And we're not
To,
making any decision.
No.
To move ahead.
No, and I would say, I would go even further to say our participation in the feasibility study doesn't necessarily indicate a predisposition to any particular outcome. It's just an opportunity that's,
But it informs, there's nothing lost, right?
Yeah.
It informs the landscape, and both for them and for us for the future.
Right. Would you like me to put this motion on the floor?
if you would be willing.
I move to approve joining a shared services study for the communications department with the town of Concord. And is that an adequate motion for your needs? To
It's for me,
Describe it that
yes.
way?
It's for
Does that
Rob,
work?
yeah.
Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion or deliberation? We'll do a roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Modell, aye.
Snell, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Trio, aye. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for your time and consideration.
Great. And staying on the theme of public safety, we have the fire station
The daily double.
renovation project
Public safety daily double.
presentation. So, I know they have a full presentation prepared to go over all the kind of key points and timelines, but just to set the context, really what's being asked of the select board tonight is kind of essentially a go, no go on the bidding process. So to bring this potentially to town meeting, the bidding process, the bids need to go out Wednesday of next week. And the committee is looking for any stoplights or red lights that the select board would say, don't do that. So just to set the expectations of what we're discussing tonight, I think we would take a position on any warrant article if we do proceed, once we have the actual bid numbers in. But with that, I'll turn it over to the committee. If you could just introduce yourselves,
Can I start with a call, just a call to order and?
please. Oh, you're doing a joint meeting, okay.
So we have a quorum.
Great.
So calling to order a meeting of the Fire Station Building Renovation Committee at 1955. which is participating in a joint meeting with the Select Board. We have members present by roll call. Follis, aye. Dave?
Harry, present.
I'm not.
David?
Definitely David. Flannery, maybe.
Ish?
Aye.
Jerry? Suzanne?
Here.
And Greg?
Aye.
Non-voting members, Ryan? And the chief? Here. So with that, thanks everyone for joining. Good evening. The committee's here along with the town's architect, Tecton, and owner's project manager, CMS, to provide the select board with an update on our progress to date, key aspects of the design, and the current project estimate cost. At the end of this discussion, you'll hear a recommendation from the committee, the architect, and the OPM, after which we'll specifically be looking for, and Scott's already mentioned this, and we need to hear this, the select board's concurrence or not on continuing forward up to the conclusion of phase 2, which will provide the basis for the appropriation request that we would use at the May town meeting. The committee's picked up the work at the conceptual design phase and its associated estimate that was completed last October and was presented to the select board on the October 14th. The committee was constituted after that. We were provided a charge by the select board to finalize that design, and we were given some very specific guidelines which are on the screen, and you'll remember what they were. We have done this. We have taken it to the design, through the design development phase. We're now at the point of developing construction drawings suitable for going out for bid. And we would, at the end of this meeting and at the end of this discussion, look forward to hearing your concurrence on continuing. So at this point, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Matt from Tecton, the architect, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Happy to
Good
be here.
Welcome back.
Aye.
We skipped the whole cold part of the year. We got right back to when it was warm again, so it's good stuff. I may need some juice at some point, just letting everybody know that. So we're gonna start out a little bit with the project schedule. And this is just a brief overview. There's 2 slides here. I'm just gonna breeze through some of this stuff, but I think the goal is, since November 24th, when we received the notice to proceed to move into the production of this project and working with the committee, a lot of work has gone on in an extremely short amount of time. And so you can see here, from January 5th, when we kicked off the building committee meeting, we moved right into development of the schematic design package. Within 2 weeks, we were into design development, starting our estimate for that phase on January 16th. In between the establishment of that cost estimate, we were meeting regularly with the fire department, the building committee, and members of the building committee independently to make sure that we were that we were really putting together a robust package, that we were meeting all the needs of the fire department, and that we were detailing a project that was within the vision and goals given to the building committee themselves. So this is a whole bunch of meetings just over the course of January and February, and then we've continued that on into March as well. And so here we are on March 10th with an anticipation of bid documents being issued next Wednesday to bidders. And then we will follow with the bidding schedule here up to town meeting. And I will end this presentation with a snapshot of what the next few weeks look like as well. In concurrence with this, I wanted to give the board an update on the status of the permitting efforts, because there are several. In addition to meeting with the department head group regularly to update them on the project, we've also met with the Board of Health as early as January 14th to approve the design flow for the new septic system, and we have a meeting with them tomorrow night in which we are hoping to have a design approval on that septic system. So we are seeking that approval tomorrow night. We also had a hearing with the planning board last night. As one can imagine, as we're rapidly producing a project at this speed, that there could be some hiccups and some information missing. So we had some additional information that needed to be provided to them. We were continued to a special meeting on March 30th in which that material will be provided. And we are hoping that we can either seek an approval at that, or if not, at their next regularly scheduled hearing on April 13th. Additionally, the Conservation Commission, so we've been working with them. One of the bigger challenges with the Conservation Commission thus far has been having them conduct what's called the delineation confirmation. So they need to go out there with our wetland scientists, auger areas around where we delineated the wetlands last year to confirm that that is in fact where the line should stand. So they need to do their own confirmation on that. Can't do that when the ground's frozen or covered in snow. So we filed an ANRAD early in February, which was sort of a pre-submission ahead of the notice of intent to get them on board to request a waiver because it's town policy that they do not do that confirmation during the winter months, but said that they would be open to a waiver on that. And so we filed an ANRAD to start and initiate that process. Then we got 2 feet of snow. Anyway, the ground is thawed and the snow is melting, so we're hoping that maybe next week that we'll be able to get out and get that underway. In addition to that, concurrently with that, we filed our notice of intent with them. Our first hearing was on February 26th. We will continue to March 12th, obviously, until we have that confirmation. They can't close the hearing. But no major concerns were noted. We are awaiting peer review comments, and again, awaiting for the snow to frost to thaw out so we can do that.
Matt, what's ANRAD?
I got the actual term of the. Yeah.
What is it? It's
Sounds
okay.
like approval not required, but that's something.
I can follow up with.
It's a waiver.
Yeah.
But there's one question that I have, which is, don't they themselves are in the middle of whether the wetlands is 150 feet or 50? There's some other thing going on with them about where you delineate wetlands, right?
Well, that, you mean the potential wetlands bylaw? That would be at fall town meeting.
That would not undo this. Whatever they decide now is
Correct.
grandfathered in.
It would be if.
We can only be permitted through an approval process and what's currently on the books for.
Right, so
yeah.
they couldn't come back later and say, oh, we changed our mind.
No.
It's more that is there something that could come up that you haven't, if the wetland is closer to the station, that's still a variable.
They need to know that
Yeah.
they need the spring thaw to figure that out.
Yeah, as it's designed now and as as the design team and our wetland scientists have delineated the wetland, we are in compliance with the regulations within town. But it's a matter of confirmation of where those extents.
Stands for Abbreviated Notice of Resource Area Delineation.
There you go. Thank you.
That's Kristen.
Didn't remember that? Just rolls off the tongue.
Okay.
So late last year, we presented an initial design and initial budget to this board. So just to refresh everybody's memory, what we had looked at was two sort of additions to the north of the fire station. To the left was a series of new apparatus bays, and to the side of that and above it, we were building the new living and workspaces and decontamination spaces. One of the challenges we had outlined at that meeting was that because we're building over the apparatus space, the building was very tall. That'll come into play further on in the presentation. And then an outbuilding off to the west, and then trying to maintain the developable area of the site sort of between the new addition and the existing radio tower. After that presentation, after that design, after we had received some more investigatory information, and after the chief and I reviewed the site in more detail, he actually went out there and walked it, wheeled off where the dimensions are, and started to plan how his vehicles were going to start to maneuver around the site. We realized very quickly that this plan was not going to be the most practical implementation for the project. And so between November and December, we worked together to develop an alternative plan, which is what we've been developing over the past couple of months. And again, just as a reminder, this was what the addition had looked like, sort of a lobby entry off to the bottom right, this facing town hall, and then sort of an insulated metal panel volume up above that with some ribbon windows, and then a ground face block stair tower in the back. So this is sort of the architectural aesthetic at that time. So now for the current design, we're gonna have a lot of conversation, so I'm gonna try to keep as much of this brief as I can. So this is the latest site plan. As you can see, sort of the square box down to the south of the site is the existing building. We are still developing the site to the north of the existing building for the addition, but we are now more or less on a level 2-story addition. So we've brought the entire scale of the building down a little bit. The sort of leg to the right of what you might call the L, those are the new apparatus bays. So those are flanking the side of the station. And then off to the left are, if you can see my cursor, there we go. Over here are the new live and work areas.
So
Our
I'm
outbuilding is still off to the side here where it was originally shown. The radio tower is here. And now we're developing the site to circulate around the radio tower as well as an outcropping of ledge that's there, which is providing better circulation flow for the fire department, safer circulation flow for their fire apparatus vehicles, provided opportunities for additional parking that weren't realized in the initial design. And this also works with the complex network of utilities that are going to be crisscrossing this site. It just, we needed to develop more site in order to put all the things in the ground.
The kind of light gray boxes are the additional parking?
Yes.
One on each side of the existing building and then one in the back?
These right here?
Yeah.
These are designating the sort of heavy duty apron for the vehicle. So there's a
Oh, okay.
reinforced cross section of the ground there. So the parking, there's some parking spaces by the outbuilding over here. These
Oh, I
we're
see.
formalizing where they are existing currently.
Yeah.
We're reconfiguring the retaining wall that's here to grab a few extra parking spaces. And then we have a whole series of them sort of around the back with a few handicap spaces here next to what is now the new public entry. So the building sort of flipped. The entry is no longer
okay.
facing Town Hall. It's now facing the west.
Is that
Okay.
increased or decreased for parking, or remain the same?
From existing,
From your the
the
original?
previous scheme is an increase in parking.
Increase.
Yeah.
And I'm not fully up on my wetland delineation, but I know that when, in the conceptual design, we were constrained by the radio tower, and we were trying to, so in this version, obviously there's more development behind the radio tower.
Correct.
Okay. And
Yeah, but
that seems to be feasible within the wetland delineation?
It is. So you can see the line of the edge of wetlands here. Right now on the books, it's a 25-foot setback to an area of non-disturbance, and so we're complying with that setback. We're also improving the stormwater management on site. Right now, all the stormwater essentially sheet flows into the wetland. We're capturing, treating, and discharging that back into the groundwater. So there's underneath the paving, there's a number of large chambers that are going to be going underground to capture all that stormwater and allow it to slowly discharge. And then any overflow of that would be treated within the system and then discharged here and then back out to the wetland where the flows would be controlled and slowed so there wouldn't be any erosion, and the water that would be discharging back into the wetland would be treated and cleaned versus just sheet flowing off of the paving as it currently does.
And is that, well, you'll get to it, but is this structure similar square footage, just reconfigured?
It's a couple hundred square feet smaller than the original design. The building is about 12 feet shorter overall. We were able to provide a more efficient layout, and within that reduction of square footage, actually get the fire department more program space that we had previously. So we were able to add in a little bit more living space, a little bit more room. Everything's not as sort of crammed as it was in the previous design. So on the floor plans themselves, so this is the new lobby off to the west. We have got our elevator and elevator machine room and a public restroom. Moving into the administrative portion of the building, to the left is the chief's admin with a transaction window to receive anybody that does come into the lobby seeking service or there for a training or something like that. Chief's office, deputy chief's office, and then we have a shared fire prevention EMS office. This is a fairly similar arrangement to the previous design. And then our stair upstairs. This back stair here is an egress stair, but is also a combined training stair. So it's designed a little bit differently on its interior. It has operable doors up on the upper levels, as well as a tie-off rail on the roof, so that a fire department can bring the ladder truck over or put a ladder up against the building and do rescue training off of that, as well as training off of the roof, so they can simulate real-life scenarios within their existing facility now. Right in the middle of the building is their fitness room.
This is first floor, correct?
This is all on the ground floor. And then we have our new apparatus bays here. So there's 2 double deep apparatus bays serving that, as well as EMS supply room, EMS drug storage, and a report writing space. Between the existing apparatus base, the new, and the rest of the station is the turnout gear locker room. So this is access from the outside by call firefighters coming into the scene, and sort of acts as the hub of distribution for firefighters out to the trucks for whenever they need to get to a call. Next to that is a mechanical room, and then a fire gear storage room. South of the plan, these are some of the existing spaces. So the existing apparatus bay it's labeled as outdoor equipment, but this is a combination of outdoor equipment like lawnmowers and snow blowers, but also a workroom for doing any repairs and servicing of any of the firematic equipment or trucks, and as additional storage. We've repurposed the locker room space into the new decontamination space. We've left as many of the plumbing fixtures and things like that as we can to limit slab removal and rework of any utilities. And then the existing kitchen area has been subdivided to provide a room for the SCBA compressor and air packs and air bottles and face masks, as well as expand the electrical room and provide the emergency electric room. So we tried to keep all those as close to that side of the building because that's where the transformer and generator is ultimately going to go. So
Similar
shortens-
concept to what was in the conceptual design.
Similar concept, but we've actually pared back the renovation a little bit more on this. Tried to reuse as much of the existing utilities as we could.
You know, on that note, I do have a question, and this is not just for Matt, but it could be for anybody on the committee or for the chief. I mean, talk to us about where you have economized. I have had a couple of pings just in the last week from our various neighbors saying, this sounds like a lot. This is all very deluxe. And, while, it's a nice step up, it's where we need to be from the current fire station. Where have we made the choice, the deliberate choice to say we need to economize?
A list of several things. One of them, we have no conference room. I think most people would choose to do that. There are a number of places where instead of making changes, we reuse the space as economically as we could, without tearing up floors and all that. So we tried to leave our old building as unchanged as possible. We also reduced a lot of cubic foot space, so not necessarily square foot, but cubic foot by moving from a three-story building in height to two-story building in height. So those are some basic things. I think everywhere we've been through, I think Matt will concur that we have always looked at how we can economize when we've looked at any of these changes. You can.
Great.
And you'll go through
Thank
some
you.
of the value
Yep.
engineering work that the committee has done.
That's covered at the end, unless you want to move it up.
Yeah, no, there's been a lot of value engineering undertaken by the committee over the past few months, but I think even before that, we were looking conceptually with this board last year at a much larger program. We were looking at the original recommendation of all the space that the fire department was looking to produce in this facility was another 10,000 square feet of space, and that had all been removed prior to this phase of the project.
Mhm.
And I would add, we did put a call out for community comments, and I think we got one,
We have multiple.
yeah,
We
two
had-
comments.
Yeah, we had multiple, and then I had someone call me,
Okay.
just a neighbor. So, yeah, I just, point taken. They're concerned about costs.
We all are.
Mhm. So up on the second floor, so as we had noted, minimizing the rework of the existing building. So essentially, we're not reconfiguring any of the spaces planned south here. We are adding a storage mezzanine because we're infilling some space down below. It's very cost effective to just put a simple floor over that and use it for additional storage. The only other thing we're doing on the second floor is putting some frosted film over the front door so it doesn't look like a front door anymore. As for the rest of the second floor, it's really just this box here. So as you come up the elevator from the public, or the back training stair, this is the training room. It's got this is the building IT closet. We've got a furniture storage space, a sub-electric room here. 5 bunk rooms, so four standard bunks and then an officer's bunk. These double as hoteling workspace as well. So this is one of the big components of the recruitment and retention requirements that we had gone through last year. Making sure that the department can recruit from a wider radius, give some amenity space to those folks so that they're able to be in the station rather than taking 20 minutes to respond to the station before then getting on a truck and responding to a call for service. We've got a housekeeping space here, so this is sort of janitorial laundry services for the building. We've got 3 restroom showers. One is publicly addressed for the training room, and the other 2 are dedicated just for firefighters. And then we've got our living quarters here with a day room area, which also doubles as a secondary training space. And then a kitchen and dining space for the department. This is a rendering from the west elevation of what it could look like. So this is the existing building to the right. Our new addition is off to the back. We're using a combination of split face and ground face block cladding for the exterior. I know last year we had shown insulated metal panels when we were going through our cost exercises. That was substantially more expensive than if we were to do it out of masonry. And so one of the value engineering items that we'd worked through with the committee was reducing the insulated metal panel down and then using masonry, which is inherently a more durable, robust material and reduced cost significantly. And then off to the left, you see the pre-engineered metal building, which is using a cost-effective construction method that wouldn't be suitable for the main fire station per se as a long-term solution, but provides cost-effective overflow for some of the smaller vehicles and storage and things like that.
This replaces the tents.
That's
Oh,
right. That's
And you
the
got
thing.
that all up on the same level, too.
Yes, yeah, so it's all at the same grade.
Yeah.
Above the cistern, is that,
The cistern, so the cistern is actually underneath the outbuilding.
yeah,
So, yeah, so the
Remember that was
outbuilding
a-
is structured over top of the cisterns. There's 2 20,000-gallon cisterns underneath that. And then there's also a fire pump assembly that actually takes up a large portion of the outbuilding. We'll get into that as we get into the details of the budget. And then this is the view around towards Town Hall. The apparatus bay itself, we're providing a little bit more contrast with a lighter colored split face and ground face block. A lot of the building carries through this existing precast band and wraps that around. And then the gray block infills between the 2 to separate those masses and provide a little bit of contrast. And then you can see on the left here, this is the old ambulance bay that we're infilling. And then we're redoing the retaining wall that now comes across like this.
Mm-hmm.
We're cutting that back because we no longer need to provide that access up to the existing entry. And so we can use that to take advantage of additional parking spaces.
can you just
No.
go back for a second?
Yep.
And then just, I'm seeing that little thing to the left of the tower, that's to let in the natural light. I know there's some discussion in the meeting I attended.
I'm glad you brought that up, Scott. Yeah, so one of the disadvantages of having the addition built right up against the existing building is that we end up with an entire facade with no windows. And 2 of the spaces that are directly in that section of the building is the training room and the day room, the living in areas. So there is some windows off to the west of the training room, and then there is a window here into the dining room. But in order to bring more natural light in, we did put a monitor roof up that spans between those 2 spaces to bring some natural daylight down below. And then in the day room, we also did add a couple of windows down into the apparatus bays. So from that living area, there's windows into both apparatus bays, so they have a good situational awareness for anybody that's up there to anybody that's looking down on the trucks or down on the fire floor. So the project budget, this is what we had presented last October to the board. We were looking at the time, 13.6 million for construction costs. We were suggesting construction contingency of $680,000. Soft costs in the budget were running around $2.4 million. And we had another $120,000 of additional contingency for project development costs on top of that 2.4 million, with a total projected project cost between 16.75 and 17.2 million dollars. So I'll go through the current project costs. So we're running a little bit higher. So the hard cost, the all-in for construction, is based on our design development estimate with a number of value engineering options, is running at 15.15 million. With that, we would suggest a construction contingency of $757,000. Our soft costs are $1.5 million. Some of that it's gone down since last October because some of those services have already been appropriated and spent. And then a soft cost contingency remained the same, with a total projected project cost of 17.5 million.
Is there
Now,
something you can identify that is the bulk of that, or is it just all little components? Oh, you're gonna.
we'll get to that.
A little bit of both.
So I do want to note that 17.5 is a couple $100,000 above the number that we had presented in October. But I do want to note that this budget does not include the 1.4 million from the last appropriations, and that's the true delta.
You have to add 1.4
You have
to
to add
this
one, yeah,
projected
to
cost.
this. For the total project
Yeah.
cost
Yeah.
of all monies
What's the
expended.
1.4?
That would have been previously approved, the design,
Oh.
Right.
also for context, this is the internal cost estimate, this is not,
The
The
bid
bid.
number, correct. So we have not bid this project. The bid number is what we would take to town meeting.
Right.
And currently, the market is very favorable to municipalities bidding projects right
What does that mean, favorable?
no, tell them
So we, in order to qualify for bidding on a project in the Commonwealth over 10 million in value,
Yeah.
you have to go through a pre-qualification process.
Yeah.
We're just concluding that process on our project. We had over 150 contractors express an interest to submit a bid on our project. There were 18 general contractors and 131 filed subbidders in various categories of work throughout the project. That is an extraordinary high
I mean,
level
they're all
of
looking
interest.
for work.
Everybody is looking for work. We're seeing very aggressive bid pricing in the market.
Yeah.
To have 18 general contractors interested in pursuing the work. Now, we can't guarantee that all 18 will submit bids,
Yeah, right.
but that creates a very aggressive atmosphere to be a successful low bidder. So I think it bodes very well for the town that there's that
And when
level of interest.
they bid a fixed price? They have
They do.
contingency.
That's correct.
So just let me
In
understand.
in contrast, we're going through the same process in another community right now. They had 5 general contractors. Slightly larger job, $30 million job, but was big difference. Big
So
difference.
the 1.4, we already apportioned to do the
what they're doing.
CDs or for
All
these
the
guys?
work
What
that's
they're
been
doing.
done
Okay, so
so
you're saying the
far.
total cost after, but that's done, that's a sunk cost. It
Correct.
doesn't
So this
count.
is the total go-forward cost,
To go forward, so the
Correct.
all-in cost is
18,
19 million.
based on
18.5, or no,
cost
19,
estimates.
Yeah,
right.
okay.
Yep.
And your guidelines contingency looks like in the, so you have certain percentage guidelines on construction contingency,
It's the same percentage, Dave, on both models. It's 5%.
right,
Of
of that.
construction cost and
Right.
5% of soft costs.
But the other, the 119, what's that last contingency?
That's the 5% of the 1.5 million.
Okay, so it's the same 5%, okay.
Same idea.
Okay, but the bidders would be bidding on the hard cost plus the first two.
Just the hard cost. The
Just the hard
contingency
cost.
is what the owner would keep
Okay.
as reserve funding for unforeseen conditions.
Don't
and
they
change
also
orders.
bid that? No.
No, the
They hard bid.
contingency is like, so if you do a kitchen renovation of your
Right,
house,
right, yeah, right.
carry
Okay,
10-15%, yeah.
Okay, got it,
Yeah.
thank you.
So I just wanted to sort of break down some of those costs. So the new addition was running at 8.3 million. The renovation was $800,000 of work, and the outbuilding was $890,000. In that, we also have a $20,000 line item for hazmat. We did do hazardous materials and observation. That report is coming due, but there was some asbestos-containing materials within the building that are impacted by our work. And then 2.3 million in site development. So then all that net construction gets marked up. These are the typical line items. The general contractor will mark up the project. At the point in which we had did the estimate, there was an additional 5% in design and pricing contingency. That's saying the estimator took off our drawings and they weren't done, and so they put a contingency in because they need to sort of make up for the difference of things that haven't yet been developed at the time of the estimate. Escalation is prices continue to increase over time, and so we need to carry an allowance for that. General conditions and general requirements, that's the needs of the contractor to do the work, so that's the requirements within the contract that they need to adhere to. Temporary facilities, project management, oversight, scheduling, those sort of things. Bonds and insurance, they have to bond the project, they have to have insurance, and then overhead and fee is effectively the general contractor's profit. That's what constitutes a total construction cost of $15,729,000, and I'll get into why that's different than the number you saw prior to this.
Does this all take into account the utilization of the fire department while this is being undertaken?
Yeah, so phasing is part of the construction plan.
Without having to
Yeah.
relocate any of the services.
Yes. Yeah, it will not be easy for them or the contractor, but so for example, in this one, on a larger project where we might have a clean site where there's nobody occupying it, that general conditions number may be would likely be a lower percentage. It's a higher percentage on this project because we anticipate a longer duration schedule than typically required.
Mm-hmm. And
But that's
are you
still
gonna get
cheaper
to
than
that, or
doing
what
it.
is the duration? What is the length of
15 months is what we're anticipating.
15 months?
There's no new well, it's just the septic, right?
There is a new well.
There is a new well.
Yeah. Yeah, right now the well is, the existing well isn't producing quality water. It has a good flow rate, doesn't produce quality water, and it would be within the setbacks of our new septic system. So we need to replace that. This is a summary of major deviations between the conceptual estimate that we presented to you last year and the current estimate. So I wanted to go over some of the big, large item deltas to sort of tell you the story of why the budget has increased. One, the outbuilding has increased in size from the initial study by 640 square feet. The reason being, the site constraints were so tight that we were hoping at one time when we were developing this, that the fire pump could be constructed outside of the outbuilding and structured separately from it. Because the site is so tight, we don't have anywhere else to put it. It has to go inside the outbuilding. And the chief needed every square foot of that program area to do what he needed to do based on the MRI report last year and their operations. So we needed to increase the size of that outbuilding in order to do so. That's sort of a fixed module to do it, and that's sort of like the next size up, effectively what we're looking to do.
You get some economies there because you're not doing two separate structures.
That's correct. Yeah, instead of doing 3 buildings as part of this project, we'd only be doing 2. I would note the increased the projected delta in cost of $360,000. That's based on the estimated cost per square foot. We're not adding new systems to that building by making it bigger, so realistically, that's a high conservative ceiling for what that increase would be.
Because it was what, $560, it was only $100 less than the new addition for the outbuilding, so
Yeah.
maybe that's high.
The other,
See what the bidders say.
yeah. Well, the other part of that is the next piece, which is deep foundations. So we were trying to get it in a way where we were utilizing site fill to sort of bring up the area of the site around the outbuilding so that we didn't have to do deep foundations. It wasn't feasible or practical as we got into the details of it. So we need 12-foot deep foundations in order to bring that up to the right grade.
Hmm.
And so that work that's required to do so has an increased cost over what was carried in the initial conceptual design.
Accommodate the cisterns underneath.
And to accommodate, like, now we're putting the cisterns underneath that as well. We couldn't structure them elsewhere on site because there's just not enough room.
And there's currently no fire suppression system in the fire station, correct?
That's correct.
So
This is required to bring it one way or the other.
The travelers' children go barefoot.
That's right.
The site north of the radio tower has ledge. Chief can attest to when they put the radio tower in, they had to do some blasting. So we did have to carry some additional costs in there for taking out ledge in order to do the site development that we need to do. So
And they were doing some testing there recently, right? Is that?
we're trying to quantify exactly how much
Okay.
that is.
So that's still a bit of an unknown.
Yeah, right now in the budget, we're carrying sort of,
The worst.
typically you take 2 feet down is topsoil from undisturbed land like that. And we're taking from that 2 feet down to bottom of excavation as all ledge. Based on the initial observations by our geotechnical engineer, it didn't seem that the ledge was as invasive as we thought it would be. So we're hoping that comes down as well. They were also hindered by snow and equipment, and they've since been back out, and I'm just waiting on a report on that.
And you need all that information prior to putting it out to bid, correct?
We don't, because we're carrying the ceiling in the contract. It only helps the budget as we can refine that. But the way we're structuring that line item is through what's called a unit cost. So basically, we put a scope together and say, the contractor needs to take out 1 cubic yard of rock, and they're gonna submit with their bid, this is how much it costs for me to rock hammer out that 1 cubic yard of rock. And then we're gonna tell them in their price to carry 150 cubic yards of rock. And that gets rolled into their bid. If they only encounter 50 cubic yards, we get a credit back for the delta. No negotiation on it, it's just, they submit the price and it is what it is.
But when we go to meeting, we have to sort of factor all that in.
Yeah.
You don't want to be low on that number.
You don't want
A lot of people.
Or it can come out of contingency, I guess, if there's more. But will you have a pretty good sense of the ledge coming out of these tests?
Yes. So electrical and HVAC were both high numbers from conceptual design, and I'll note that two things happen there. One, when we do these conceptual design estimates that are based on a couple of detailed plans and a brief narrative, right, there's not a lot of detail for the estimator to go off. So some of these major lines, they're using their best guess at saying, over these 30 fire stations of all these different scales, it costs about this much per square foot to do an electrical system. This estimate was then based on us going through detailed meetings with the chief in his department, engineering that system and coordinating that around all of the other site constraints in and out of the existing building and on site. The system sizing, the distribution of all the cabling and things like that, security system that is in the design now, all of those components equal the net increase in the electrical system of $420,000. On the HVAC side, similarly, we were trying to keep a very bare bones, very simplified HVAC system in it. When we got into the intricacies of the code in which you're under for the Optum stretch code, what the fire department needs for their operations, and how those systems all integrate and come together, it was more complicated than what was able to be taken off at conceptual design. And so, again, when those systems were engineered and detailed and fully taken off, it was more expensive now than it was when we had made some assumptions back then. One thing that we did put into the project, and this is a resiliency piece for the fire department, the new apparatus bay will utilize a radiant heated slab. This is sort of the best option for a fire department to heat an apparatus bay for two reasons. One, a radiant slab dries the floor out faster, and so when those trucks are coming in and out for multiple calls for service on the same day, and they're coming back in the winter with snow and ice on them, and that melts down on the floor, it can get slippery and it can get dangerous, and so that helps dry that out. It also helps thaw out the trucks a lot faster, and from the MRI study, how much the fire department relies on pipe and hose to deliver service to a structure fire, because they're drafting long distances in lots of water. So if they go out for a structure fire call in the morning, come back to the station, it's 20 degrees out, if we can't warm that equipment up and thaw it out quickly and adequately, and another structure fire call comes in, they're dead in the water and aren't able to respond adequately or effectively. So it allows all those systems to sort of reheat themselves, warm up, and be ready for the next call, for the next response. So in order to do that, heat pumps, electric heat pumps, which this whole building is structured around an electric heat pump heating system, they don't work great when it's 10 degrees out or negative 10 degrees out like we experienced this winter. And so we did put in a backup gas-fired boiler to supplement that one system, which is allowable under the opt-in stretch code. We did review this with Sarah Wasserman in detail. The caveat with it is when you introduce gas into the building of the code, that you need to provide a prescriptive amount of solar PV on the roof on day one. And so we have a 30 kilowatt hour rooftop solar PV system that is now part of the bid package, and it's in the project. So these were some of the bigger lines. There's certainly more detail within the estimates. Any questions on this? This is sort of a big piece of the puzzle.
Can I just quickly ask or summarize? So the things that you still, aside from the cost, which we've estimated, but the things that you don't know for sure are the septic system. Board of Health, you're going to have to get the planning board sign off this, and you have to get the Conservation Commission. If those things were to change the wetland boundaries, that would be an impact to this. You have the ledge, and the ledge is just for the building, or is it also for under the septic, the new, or cistern?
We've only encountered, so we've done a geotechnical assessment of the whole site, and the only ledge that was encountered is north of the radio tower. So
Okay.
it only really affects the portion of the new apparatus bay and drive-by.
You did geoprobe or something to,
They went back there with backhoes and
Okay.
dug test pits.
all right. And then you have a well, so the well could, if you don't find water, you could have to relocate that,
You could, but it wouldn't be a substantial cost in terms of the overall project budget.
as long as there's a place for it.
Yeah.
I'm asking because I just want to understand all the things, because a lot of things can happen in
Yes.
construction projects.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Anything else?
I had a question on why did my mind wasn't drawing the connection between backup gas boiler. Got it. Why does that drive the need for solar? Is that what I heard? It was kind of broke up a little bit when you were talking through that part.
Because when we introduce gas into the project under the opt-in stretch code, it requires a offset of a prescriptive amount of solar PV on the roof on day one.
And what is can you remind us what
It
the
is,
opt-in stretch
the,
code is?
it's the code, it's a building code that was adopted at town meeting in the fall of
Carlisle town.
2023. So that's a building code that applies, and if you're putting natural gas in new construction, that's the way that building code handles that.
So
Got
the
it.
$500,000
Offset
bucks
For using it now.
is the $500,000 of the last two line items. An insurance policy that if it's really cold and you have multiple events in a day, you can do multiple events.
Yes.
And there's an offsetting insurance policy, you just call a different fire department. I mean, it's a lot of money for a, less frequent event.
Different fire department will have the hoses.
Just saying. You don't have it today, right? You don't have that capacity today in a cold. What happens when it's really cold?
Well, we have natural gas heaters.
Yeah.
So you are able to get through that.
Yeah, we heat it up, and so that's one thing about the heat pump is, we don't heat it much unless it's really cold out. The colder it is outside, the warmer it needs to be inside. When you leave the station, you
Yeah.
need to be warm enough that you can get there and set up without it freezing on you. And so, unfortunately, that's the opposite of what heat pumps do well.
Yeah.
And so this is a way to take care of that. The other thing that the backup boiler does is reduces, because you need a generator to back up on a fire station, anything you have that's working. That greatly increases the size of that generator. So in terms of the costs, Peter or Paul, which do you want to pay? And this was,
But you
this
couldn't,
seemed like the best.
if you
option.
went with the system, the method you have now, then that natural gas, it wouldn't be green, it wouldn't meet stretch code.
Well, it wouldn't be, yeah, it wouldn't fit the building code.
You
And it
can't
would
build
also-
that anymore, is what you're saying.
And it
You're not
also-
allowed to do that.
Efficiency isn't, on what, the gas heaters we have now are not efficient at all.
But these, this one would be, but.
No, the new one.
But
Yeah.
it needs it, so for instance, whenever it's on generator power,
Yeah.
the heat pump just doesn't run, it runs to natural gas, because obviously using diesel to make electricity
Yeah, it doesn't
would
make
just be.
sense.
And to the chief's point, as part of this, by just by putting the backup, and this backup boiler is only serving the radiant fluorine, it's not serving any other part of the building. We were able to reduce the size of the generator by 100 kilowatt, 100 kW.
Another way of asking what you're asking too is, are there incentives through the state? I know we're getting $1 million, but we've already allocated that to the
So
school.
we've been working with Mass Saves and Sarah Wasserman on that, and so, yeah, when you bring gas into the building, there was legislation passed last year that disincentivizes you. So you aren't eligible for those Mass Save rebates. There are other rebates that are available, and we are working with her currently through NGrid and Eversource on those. So
So
we're not.
they're not in here though.
They're not in
Not
here,
right, that's right.
and
All the
and
rebates are not in here yet.
and the total value of the potential rebates that we lost was in the order of magnitude of a couple tens of thousands of dollars. It was very small. It was less than the cost savings of reducing the size of the diesel generator.
Are any of these components, or any component, not just those, subject to tariffs as far as you know? come from other-
The only thing I have seen in the past year that has been hit by tariffs is structural steel.
Is what?
That's a big one.
Structural steel.
And is that factored into the cost analysis?
So the bidders at the time that they bid the project will have to account for any
Right, so
tariffs
they'll
that are
risk
currently on
mitigate
the
that,
project. Yeah,
'cause
so
nobody knows what's in
if
it.
10 months from now, there's a 100% tariff put on everything,
They'll slap that.
there'll be a change order and we'll have to figure that out.
So that will have to be contingently planned. And then the other one, which is a new one, is the, global cost of energy, which is going up and up. And every energy's in everything. So when you go to bid, let's assuming you go to bid now, what are they gonna do about that?
So they have to anticipate that, and they have to honor it within their contract price.
There's no escalation clause in chapter 149 for fluctuations in energy cost or anything like that.
But they may bid higher, and you made the
They
point,
might, and they may not,
that,
if they bid too high, they may not get the job.
No, I know,
So that's the preference.
competition is better than no competition.
Right.
I mean, it's a very difficult, you said, like, whenever the project you cited earlier went to bid and 5 people bid, and now 18 people are bidding because, nobody's building. Well, the ones who are gonna go in are like, it's a nerve-wracking time. So if I were them, I would not wanna wrap money around it. I mean, if I lose, I lose, but I gotta make sure that if I am selected, I have enough contingency. So I guess I expect my line of questioning is along the lines of, I think it's gonna go north of the number we see. I bet you.
So the point of bidding before town meeting is so we know that. And then there's another decision point once we know the number.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Good point.
But right now, we're just speculating,
Yeah.
so we need to get it out to bid.
Yep.
So just a brief value engineering summary. So here's a series of items that the building committee has reviewed and approved and are incorporated into the bid documents. Again, as I noted, we had insulated metal panels and changed that to masonry, and this was only in a couple of areas of the building that resulted in $150,000 in estimated savings. We had structured the building originally out of load-bearing masonry. It made a lot of sense early in the design, but as we developed it further, didn't seem to make a lot of sense.
Tell me, did a good job. Let's keep,
Well,
spend 5 minutes on,
there's-
they saved us $500,000.
There's an important one in there, though. It's the replacement of the existing roof, move to alternate.
Yep. Yeah. So if we jump to that one, so one of the items that we had considered, which was actually not part of the conceptual design budget, was $250,000 for replacing the existing roof. It's about 20 years old. It's a built-up asphalted roof. So we removed $230,000 out of the budget by making that an alternate. So we'll get an independent price for that. I would note that since we had the estimate done in this, that that did come back as potential asbestos-containing materials in felts and mastics under the existing roofing layer. So we're working on seeing if we can do an encapsulation of that or if we have to abate it, but ultimately, we're gonna be carrying that in the bid as hazardous-containing materials in the roof. But it'll be a separate price outside of the base bid.
But you're not gonna have the old roof, you're gonna re-roof the old.
Well,
We are pricing it as an alternate.
as an
How
alternate.
old is it?
20
20 years old.
Plus,
Plus, yeah,
Goes on the capital plan.
flat roof.
We're gonna pay, either MFC's gonna pay it later or we're gonna pay it now.
What, the advantage of having it as an alternate is we can make an informed decision about that one specific item.
Okay.
And there were various other small line item reductions. I put a note here, there were over 30 major building systems that were reviewed in detail over 3 weeks of intense meetings, long meetings, making sure that we were right-sizing every single line item within the estimate. So when we get that estimate, it's a 50-page document of not just things that are nice to look at that get to a bottom line. That's a tool that we use to evaluate every single building system to make sure that we were delivering the best value to the town of Carlisle. And I think the building committee and the fire department went through a very concerted effort, making sure that we were doing so.
And I sat in on the last 3 meetings, and it was bordering on painful at times, but they were going through
Sorry
every,
about that.
every
Scott?
line.
No, but I expect them to do that.
It's my favorite part of the
That's their
job because I
Yeah,
like
that's their job.
spreadsheets and
That's
numbers.
their job.
but Most people hate it.
That's why we hired them, because they do that stuff.
So we did identify
Volunteer.
$577,000 in savings. That's in that first roll-up number that we had shown, and that's why that was different than my
That's
breakdown.
above and beyond the ones above?
That's the summary. So 577
The
is.
ones above are 600 and something already, so.
You mean the
No,
previous
that's,
slide?
that's all baked into that first number already.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You ever reuse the lockers? Is that, you eliminated the lockers?
We reduced the number of lockers.
Just reduced.
So we designed, the estimate carried the total capacity of the locker room. We reduced it down to the number of lockers needed for current membership.
I think these we can probably, unless anyone has specific questions.
those lockers, Travis, they're a catalog item.
Okay.
You buy them right out of the
Alright.
state
Alright.
contract. And if you had five new firefighters, there's plenty of space, and you could buy 5 more next week. So,
So we broke up 4 separate alternates. They're pretty self-explanatory, but I can get into more detail on them if you like.
And is this the order? Is that just?
This is the order.
The order of,
In which we have to take them, correct.
okay.
So walk-off system, so these are where you depress a slab and put a walk-off mat in that you can then take out and clean.
Like the town hall.
Yeah, instead, as the base, we're just gonna put down walk-off carpeting, which will still work. We removed some security cameras, so we have an alternate in to add those back. And then we have an upgrade to the curbing, so base bid curbing around the site, and this will get into the planning board presentation later this month, is a 4-inch exposure granite curb with a slope top. It's a little bit lower cost, and then an integrated concrete curb at sidewalks. And then we have an upgrade to do 6-inch straight granite curbing like you do in the town center here.
Which is very robust.
Yeah.
That's the.
The most durable
The one
option.
that takes out your tires.
The one that takes out your
Hit it,
tires.
Yeah,
And then number 4 is the roof.
yeah.
This is a summary of the soft costs. We went through this last year, so in the effort of time,
it's been very change.
yeah, very few changes here. And then again, the summary here. So the 15,729 as the total, less 577 in value engineering, bringing the revised construction estimate to 15.152 million, with a $757,000 construction contingency, the 1.5 million in soft costs, for a total future appropriation anticipated at 17.5, contingent on bid numbers. So the one number that would adjust will be the top number, depending on the bids.
That's right, but I mean, the bidders are gonna know all this too, right? They know this is your estimate of what you think it should
Yeah.
It'll be published with the bid.
Yeah.
cost. Okay.
And then time,
Oops, sorry.
get into the, there we go.
Yeah, so the look ahead moving forward, so we are finishing 100% construction documents this Friday. Those are going out to bidders on Wednesday. Filed subbids are due, so it's a two-step bidding process for Chapter 149. So filed subbids, which are, I think there's 15 trades that we've pre-qualified, 14. They will all those bids will be received on April 9th. General bids will be received on April 23rd. And that'll give us a couple of weeks ahead of Springtown meeting to update the warrant.
So the GC doesn't control the subbid, you pick the subbid. You
The
pick
GC
each
picks
vendor.
the subbids.
Pick some.
No, the GC is eligible to pick any of the subbids that are submitted through
Okay,
the filed subbid process.
but who's responsible for those $15 million?
It's the
GC?
GC.
So
The town will have one contractor.
with the GC and
The
whoever.
GC will be responsible for
But he
all
doesn't
of the
subbid, you guys
subcontractors.
subbid.
No,
He does subbid,
he does.
but his bids are due, okay. And so you've got at least 2, maybe 3 committee approvals to go, right?
Yep.
Board of Health, Conscom, and Planning Board. And that's all after, could be after certainly the CD date, right?
Our anticipation and our hope as we've been working through the project schedule is that we built in internal contingency within the schedule to extend some of these permitting hearings so that they run concurrently with the bid. So we have milestones within these bid deliverable dates
Yeah.
where we're coordinating addenda and sort of tracking any of those changes. So any changes they'll be requesting, we expect as many, if not all of them, will be incorporated into the bid package and into the
That's
bids.
okay if they say, well, tweak this or tweak that. What if they say no? It just happened with a certain board that I didn't mention. Then what?
And we're not at Springtown meeting.
What?
Yeah.
And we're not at Springtown meeting with a warrant article.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Okay. All right,
All the boards have been pretty receptive. If they give you a no, it's probably not something you can overcome.
And then, did you want to provide your recommendations?
So,
Or Eric, do you want to?
absolutely. So, as you've heard, there's a lot of very collaborative work between the committee and the architect and the OPM. At our last meeting, the Fire Station Building Renovation Committee voted unanimously to support, continue to go forward with this to get the bids back to develop the hard cost for a possible warrant article. And I believe the architect has the same, you can say.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Absolutely recommend this.
And
Yes.
So I asked a question at the meeting, like sanity check. We're moving rapidly because we felt like this is, from a timing standpoint, from a project standpoint.
it's not gonna get better.
It's not gonna get better, but in light of where we are now, are we cutting any corners? Are we doing anything that's counterproductive? And they all responded that.
Yeah, it doesn't appear that way. It looks very thorough. You mentioned 15 months of construction, or, so if we get the number, town meeting approves it, when does that clock start on the 15 months?
Once a contract is executed,
When is that after town meeting?
June or July.
June or July, so let's say July. So July 26 to the end of calendar 27.
Well, it's 60 days. We only have July 1, but yes, same
It's
principle.
roughly the end of 27. You're finishing up in the early winter, I guess, which is not terrible.
it'll be
I mean, the cutting, I don't think there's any cutting corners. I think my biggest concern inbound was not understanding the wetlands delineation, and it's still possible that, when the thaw comes, they
Valid.
find water and some frog or
Well,
something.
there was also just a concern of all the work that had to get done for the design and all that in time.
Right, so that's,
Yeah.
that
I feel like-
is the biggest
Yeah.
existential threat, that design actually will not be approved because of some condition that we can't alter. But other than that, it's not gonna get better.
But did you say that the wetlands delineation should be completed before town meeting?
Yes.
Therefore, it will know.
The delineation was completed last year. It's the confirmation by the Conservation Commission, which they said as soon as the ground is thawed and we can get an auger into the ground, that they're willing to work with us to do so. And so our wetland scientists will meet them. Yeah, it could be tomorrow.
Before the rain.
They,
And they said that in their experience, as you know, I don't want to speak for the Conservation Commission agent that we've been working with, or our wetland scientists, but there was some concurrence that historically, these lines don't change much when they go and auger it, and this wetland has been delineated several times over its history, and it has been pretty consistent on where it is. So we're hopeful, but that doesn't mean that there's no
Right,
possibility that something may not come up, so.
yeah.
Okay.
We need a motion?
Do we need a motion, or do we just
Yeah, I
say?
think we should.
Okay,
So you did invite public feedback?
Yep.
For,
public feedback. I don't,
Is there anybody on?
yeah, who's on?
Ben is raising his hand.
Yeah, Ben, go ahead, Ben. Just say your name and address, please.
Yep, Ben Herder, 517 Bedford Road. Can you hear me all?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing the updates to the design. I wasn't able to attend the planning board meeting last night, and apologies, I wasn't able to submit public comment by the due date. So I do have a couple questions and comments for you, so hopefully I can just run through a few of those that'll hopefully provide some clarity on the design. So I guess firstly, as you all know, this is one of the main entrances into town center. And so, and adjacent to Rockland Road too, which is a scenic road. And so I think it's just worth noting that this is, you know, while an important project, it's also a great opportunity for the town to create a streetscape that is inviting and approachable, and at scale and sensitive with the wooded residential context. I hadn't seen any of the drawings since town meeting this past fall, where we saw that rendered view, which was shared again tonight. And I guess I'm wondering, one, will additional drawings, design development drawings, be shared with the public moving forward? And I'll just keep going, and then you can respond. And then I guess one thing that I was noticing in the site plan was that there are various items in the site plan that are kind of located in the front yard, if you will. The metal outbuilding, at least in the fall at special town meeting, the plans that were shared there was a septic mound that was also at the end of Rockland Road that I assume would require a lot of tree clearing, which based on this plan right here, looks like that the location of where the septic mound was is all treed, so I don't know where the septic mound is going in this plan. And then there's the transformer generator pads with bollards, lots of pavement. So I think it would just be helpful to understand from an elevation, a streetscape elevation, what the town's getting. And I guess lastly would be the question of whether or not this landscape plan also includes specific plantings for screening, and any notion of lighting. You know, is the lighting going to be specified as dark sky compliant or minimal to be in context with the neighborhood?
Great.
So, those are my questions and comments. Thanks very much for hearing me out.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ben.
Great questions. Happy to address them. So in terms of additional design documents and drawings being made available, have those been all updated onto the project web?
I don't believe so, but I also wanted to comment that there's a plan to provide some additional outreach to town residents before town meeting. And so that's something that we start to engage in roughly now, basically educate the residents as to where we are with the design. It hasn't started yet, but there is outreach plan.
In terms of, so there's another planning board meeting on the 30th, so there'll be additional drawings as well as some of the ones you saw tonight. I think a streetscape elevation of what this looks like from the road is a great idea, and I'd be happy to provide that for that presentation. So happy to do so. I think this is more of a rendered architectural site plan. It's not fully indicative of the full landscape plan. And so at that meeting, you'll see a little bit more of a streetscape in what that would imply, because there's a little bit more sort of softening of the edge at the street You know, a lot of the site development is sort of off to the back, so it'd be a bit out of your view once we show that rendering. The leaching field is going to be down here. It's already in an area that's been previously cleared, so we're not going to be really removing any trees in order to install that. And then with the landscape plan, with all the species that are being specified, that will all be shared at that planning board meeting as well.
Lighting, he had a question about that.
In lighting, so there's minimal lighting. We're going to have a couple of decorative fixtures around the front entry, more so less a sort of a red globe so that you can identify this as a fire station from the street. Very traditional fixture. We have, I believe, 7 light fixture, pole-mounted light fixtures around the parking area, sort of around the site, as well as a couple of building light fixtures around entryways. They are all full cutoff and dark sky compliant fixtures.
So, kind of was a question I had to. We spent a reasonable amount of time down selecting some architectural views of the first design, and remember it was this color and that treatment, and now not. Like here it is, right? So it's a little blockier. I understand why, but did you yourselves, did the building committee then do all that? That's why we're not doing all that.
So they reviewed it. So rapid development, right? So we value engineered 2 weeks ago out the insulated metal panel, backhoe ball system, and all that. Changed to the block walls.
Yeah.
They saw that at the last meeting, had some comments. We revised that, and I say last meeting as in yesterday.
But I mean,
We revised that. So we have right now the scope. We can play with the palette. We can change some colors and things like that.
I mean, but it's
Textures.
the purview of the
Yeah.
RBC, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's fine. You guys are taking it.
Yeah.
They don't need us to.
They don't need us. Okay, great. That's fine.
Christina has a comment. We'll start with Christina.
Excuse me. Hi, thank you. Christina Christodoulopoulos, Hemlock Hill Road, and I'm also the co-chair of the Environmental Sustainability Committee. Since there is some discussion about landscaping, just wanted to make everyone aware that there is a municipal landscaping native plant policy for municipal properties, which requires 70% straight native species, 20%, a maximum of 20% cultivars of native species, and a maximum of 10% non-invasive ornamentals. And so I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of that. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christina. Additional comment? Does the select board want to? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I can't. Bob Zog?
Yes, hi, Bob Zog of 923 North Road. Could you just clarify a bit more about the heat pump system envisioned? If I understood correctly, the radiant floor heating is only in the new bay, or is that also in the old bay? Sounds like it's just the new bay. And would that radiant floor heating system actually be supplied by a heat pump?
That's correct.
So it'd be an air-to-water heat pump for the radiant floor heating system, and then air source heat pumps for the rest of the station?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm not an expert on fire station design by any means, but I guess radiant floor heating is pretty expensive. We don't have it in the old bay. We're not going to have it in the old existing bay. So we have to have a way to deal with thawing the trucks without it. So it's just a question. We're putting in a boiler just for that and an air-to-water heat pump. If we're doing that, that's a lot of money.
The heating system is meant to be electrical, so it's meant to be heat pumps. Radiant floor heating is, and others can speak more authoritatively to this, but common and I'd say potentially preferred in fire stations. It's also, from the limited research that I've done personally, a common choice in large open space buildings. Now, it does, given heat pump, air source heat pump technology, you do have a challenge, you get to very low temperatures. The radiant floor provides a huge thermal mass, so the response time is at issue here as well. So that is one of the reasons why the committee, we looked at this very carefully and unanimously again decided that the hybrid system was the appropriate compromise for the operational considerations that the fire department is most worried about. And those aren't hypotheticals. If I remember correctly, Brian, there's a fire station in Connecticut, fire department in Connecticut that actually had that problem a few weeks ago. Oh, sorry.
I'm not sure I see that.
I thought there was one where, well, okay.
I'm sure there was.
And so it's again, it's just not a hypothetical. It's something where the issue of frozen equipment, if you go out on a second call, again, it's operational considerations that we're trying to address in the best way possible, given the decarbonization commitment resolution that the select board had made, the specialized building code, all those things taken into consideration. This is where the committee ended up with the resources we had available, which included the experience that we get from other fire departments, the experience that the architect and the OPM have from doing other fire stations, and again, the resources that individually members of the committee can bring to the decision-making process. So it wasn't done lightly. I would be disingenuous if I said a ton of research and a ton of analysis was done, but it was done thoughtfully.
How much is the incremental cost of that? Radiant.
Of what?
I think the radiant floor heat.
The system for the apparatus bay is about a $80,000 line item.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Thank you for the response. Okay, we're well over our time, so if the select board's ready, do we want to make a motion to support the fire station building renovation committee moving forward with the bidding process?
Marty's our motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any further deliberation? Seeing none, let's do a roll call vote. All in favor?
Arnold, aye.
Modell, aye.
Snell, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Triola, aye.
Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
very much.
Good work.
Thank you for all the hard work
That's
that's
a lot
gone
of
into
work.
this
Appreciate
in a
it.
very short amount of time. To all the committee members.
I'd like to call the meeting,
Please do.
So a motion to adjourn? Seconded by,
Can you send me
okay,
the presentation?
and roll call, Ballas, aye.
First thing meeting.
Dave, are you still on?
Aye.
Thank you. David?
Yes, aye.
Ish?
Aye.
Jerry? Suzanne?
Aye.
And Greg? Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Okay, we are moving on to the agenda item of number
Safety committee.
5, the review of the safety committee town meeting request. And I believe Niche Engineering is here to speak with us, and I thank you for your patience. I know we're running a bit late.
Just to set this one up for the select board, the traffic safety, or the safety committee couldn't be here tonight for administrative reasons, but they are putting before you 2 warrant articles. One is to have town meeting approve the adoption of safety zones if possible around the school.
Yep.
And the other one is to conduct a traffic study. So this has been called a study of a study.
Right.
But the study is really a low-cost investment to make sure we're not wasting money on a larger study, because the bar to lower speed limits is very high and needs a lot of data. So if it's not feasible, then it just.
So is the 114 the low-cost study or the high-cost, or the thing we're trying to avoid
Low
spending?
cost.
It's, so the 16,000 will get you the answer on whether or not to do the
Right,
100.
okay. So that's all, I mean, I don't.
Phase 1 and 2 is on the.
Yeah,
on
so
the
do we
dock.
really have to go through all this stuff? All we need to do is say, yeah.
So I just wanted Jason, our
I know, but I
engineer.
don't really want us tonight to go through this.
No, we don't need to go through it. If we could just give a executive summary of where we're at, and we can even take a position tonight.
Yeah, I think so.
So, Jason, if you could address why we need the safety zone as option and what the traffic study would try to accomplish.
The 16,000.
Yeah, Phase 1 and 2.
Phase 1 and 2.
Sorry.
We can't hear you yet.
Cannot hear.
You can hear us, Jason?
Yes,
I can hear you, and can you hear
Okay,
me
now we hear
Now
you.
we got you.
Oh, great. Sorry about that. I've been on mute for a long time, so just forgot to unmute. Thank you for having me here. I'm Jason Sobel from Niche Engineering. I'm the Director of Transportation. So safety zones and why the meeting warrant is in front of you is that before any municipality can adopt a safety zone speed limit, a 20-mile-per-hour safety zone speed limit, on any specific street, they first need to vote to adopt, essentially, it's Chapter 90, Section 18B, I believe, to allow adopt that portion of state law, and then at that point, the town is able to implement safety zone speed limits independent of MassDOT. Safety zone speed limits establish a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit, and they're intended for use in areas such as, parks or preschools or places of worship, or really any place that might attract vulnerable road users, such as pedestrians and cyclists, and in areas that there's a conflict between vehicles and those vulnerable road users.
And so, just a quick question. So in what's being proposed, the scope of services, the safety zones, establishing the safety zones, are those the 3 safety zones we would look to establish? Or are there additional safety zones you said around the school that we can do without doing all the study? Just
2 separate things.
Okay.
So if I may clarify, once the town adopts Section 18B to implement safety zones, I said that the town can adopt and implement safety zones on streets that they're choosing without input from MassDOT. Under state law, the town is still required to follow, of course, the Federal Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, the MUTCD. And in the MUTCD, one of the requirements for establishing a regulatory speed limit is conducting an engineering traffic study. So in our proposal, phase 1 would look at the 3 safety zones that were really 2 back-to-back segments on Bedford Road and 1 on East Street. And that's really phase 1, looking at all 3 of those locations as requested by the safety committee and Ryan. And so to do a quick, engineering study to establish those. Because of that federal requirement in the MUTCD, you still need to have that engineering study to justify and show that those conditions exist and that a safety zone is warranted and appropriate for that location. So that's really what phase 1 is in our proposal. And once the town, if the town adopts Section 18B, that could be, those locations identified and requested by the safety committee could be the first locations looked at, but certainly then the door would be open if there's other appropriate locations that the town wishes to evaluate in the future.
And each of those
Okay, so
safety
just-
zones would require a similar investment subsequently.
So we're not talking about making the school area a safety zone, right? Am I reading this correctly, that we're talking about 225 Bedford Road, both parts of the roundabout, and then East Street? Right, so there's nothing related to the school. Church Street as a
I
safety
think the
zone?
school, you can do it just because there's a school, right? You don't have to do anything.
I just wanted to
What I got
clarify,
out of it
yeah,
was
what,
You can
Jason,
say
you
the
can
school
make-
is 20 miles an hour, that's it, right? Boom.
do we, Jason, what's the answer?
In our proposal and what I had discussed with the safety committee was those locations on 225 and on East Street,
Right.
and not specifically Church Street.
But is it not true, Jason, that you don't need a study if you actually are in front of a school? Like, that is your study, right?
Correct. So if there's the town could implement a school zone, which is very similar to a safety zone, but again, specifically for schools.
Okay.
Okay.
So the
All right.
phase 1 and 2, you would not do phase 2 unless phase 1 said it was doable.
No, so let me clarify a bit. So phase 1 is just for the safety zones. And that initial cost in phase 1 would cover our fee for all 3 locations, or really, again, the 2 back-to-back locations on Route 225 plus East Street. What the safety committee also requested was looking at lowering or changing the regulatory posted speed limit on a few other roads.
Yeah, but that's phase 3 and 4. I'm still on
So,
phase 2.
well, that's really what phase 2 is the beginning of that. So there's a lot of data collection and a very in-depth study for, to change the regulatory speed limit. And what phase 2 is, in those areas, let's collect some initial preliminary data, and then we can have a discussion with the town. Is it worthwhile to pursue that much more in-depth study? If the town was only interested in pursuing the safety zones, it would just be phase 1.
Ah, okay. So why don't we start with that?
But the safety zones don't achieve the goal of reducing the speed limit. You just create a safety
Yeah,
zone.
but every single place you add, you have to do another, expensive study.
Right.
Right.
So the safety zones do lower the speed limit and override any existing regulatory speed limit on the roadway.
What's the minimum speed we can implement without doing the study of the study?
If we were to do phase 1 and implement the safety zones, what would the speed limit become in those safety zones? It's currently 35, correct?
It would become a 20-mile-per-hour safety zone.
No, we're not communicating.
Right.
Today, without a study, what can we do?
We can't do anything.
The lowest we can go is 35?
That's correct.
That's why we have
Even
to
if
take
it's a
this on.
safety zone.
If it's a
Right,
safety.
Except for the school, I get it for the school.
But the safety zone has to be created.
Created, right?
Any regular road, not in front of a school, without spending money, we can only do 35.
Yes.
Okay. And if we spend the money, we can go as low as 20, I guess, right?
In those safety zones.
It
In those
becomes
safety
20.
zones. But like, how big of can we make the town a safety zone? Like, because I see Bedford Road, like 2 different segments, like, why? Just, it doesn't make a
So-
lot of sense to me, I guess, is what I'm saying. What problem are we trying to solve? People go too fast, right?
Right.
So how do we get them to
I
not
was
go
even
fast?
taking one step further back from there is like, I know we have a safety committee and they're not here tonight, but what is the problem? Like, do we have a higher fatality rate? Do we have, where are we?
Right. Can we put speed bumps in? Just put speed bumps everywhere. We're allowed to
But
do
no,
that,
no,
right?
but are we?
So before my time here,
Yeah.
this has received the 3rd most public comment and interest, and all of it's been funneled to the safety committee, so they're being responsive to the public's request for, when we put those speed limit signs up, I haven't received, besides MBTA and maybe the LSC, more comments about anything but speed.
People didn't like it, or they
They
liked
did
it?
not like it when it was increased.
But they want trails.
When it was increased, they were happy to make it slow.
Correct. So
So-
in order to make it slower, this is all the things we.
What if we just make it slow? What can the state do to us?
We did do that.
Well,
I know.
So yeah, we did make it, so I'm the liaison for the safety committee,
Okay.
David, and we did lower it, right, to 25, say, along
Yeah.
Route 225.
Yeah.
And it turns out some folks, when they get a ticket, they fight the ticket and they're winning because we didn't do this.
So what?
in a-
But mostly people go slow, right? Still. a few
Well, no,
people might
well,
fight it.
mostly they go slow, but it turns out we've not followed the proper procedures to lower our speed limit, so that 25 miles per hour was done illegally.
But what
according to
will
the
the
state.
Commonwealth do if we just put it back up 25? What will they actually do? A few people won't get a ticket, so what? But people will mostly go slower, won't they? So why not just put the signs back up? I mean, this is like the most ridiculous bureaucratic thing I've ever seen. You have to like measure and do an analysis for $100,000 so you can learn what you already know, which is people go too fast? Can we put speed bumps in? Are we allowed to do that?
If you do a study,
No, without a study. You
On
cannot?
the state highway.
Well, not on the state road, but not all the roads are
Yeah,
state.
so like
Well, unfortunately,
Curve Street, which I live off
225
of,
is
has
a
a
big
20 mile per hour
problem.
speed limit. That's
Yeah.
not a problem, because it's not, we can do that.
225 we could do,
No.
right? That
No,
one's,
So technically it's 35?
it should be, yeah.
Sweet.
I get it, the state road. Maybe we have to do the study on the state road. but
Yeah.
I don't know why we can't just put up
Well,
signs.
we do. It sounds like we do in most of town. Like
Right.
Curve Street is 20 miles per hour, but it's not 20 miles per
All
hour.
right, so I think my recommendation would be that the safety committee needs to come talk to you, because I think it would be much more compelling from your committee and easier to
I agree.
dismiss.
We've tasked them to do
And
this, so.
we're looking to take a position on a warrant article.
Yes.
I wouldn't do it this year.
So we really need them.
We're tight. This is like, you gotta be kidding me. There's gotta be more creative ways to do this, honestly.
So I have a question for Jason while you're still on the line. So these towns, when you enter some towns, it says, townwide speed limit is 20 miles per hour unless otherwise marked. You're saying they have gone through
Yeah, that's
all
a
of
very good
these
question.
studies and whatnot, and can we just post a sign at the
Yeah.
beginning of our town borders saying
Don't
it's 20
speed.
miles, that's it?
David Modell's. Yeah,
So
watching it.
those signs that you see on town borders, they're typically town-wide speed limit 25 unless posted otherwise. That's a statutory speed limit that some towns have adopted, and I believe Carlisle is one of them. Section 17C,
Oh, perfect.
which
Love it.
lowered the statutory speed limit from 30 to 25 miles per hour.
So we could have that
So-
sign posted
So
on.
we did that, and that's why the signs came down, and MassDOT said,
Did somebody, because MassDOT said what? You can't do that?
that's not actually how you do it.
Then You have,
This is how
but
you
to
do it.
Christine's question, then you have to run a study of every artery and road in the town?
Correct.
No, but nobody did that. Come on.
In order to lower the speed limit from
They
the,
do every road?
In the towns that have done it.
no, they're just
They're
also
just doing.
posting whatever they
Concerts,
want.
Yeah, and you can see it, right.
I'm never voting for this in my tenure. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Just put
But
up.
to your point, the challenge though is if you're not in compliance, it limits everybody's, if they're doing 65, they don't get a ticket.
No, they can be.
You can have
it doesn't
reckless
matter if
driving.
the-
They
They can contest a ticket if they're going 60, even whether or not it's posted correctly at 35 or 25.
No, they can't.
So again, I'm recommending we bring in the chief of police and the safety committee, so you
Okay.
fully understand the issue.
Okay.
Does anyone on the select board though want to even look back further for more data? I brought that up and I don't
I
know.
mean, is there data we already have that we could
Yeah,
use?
or, I mean.
Did we have data when we first put
Where are we relative
it in?
to, do we have an unusually high number of traffic incidents?
I
or
assume the
whatever? I
safety
mean,
committee would have that info.
I mean, are we just, I don't know.
Sure.
I'm asking. I'm
Christine, do you have any sense of whether the?
I have not personally seen any data collected. It seems that I have seen that we are responding to neighbors'
Residents' comments.
resident concerns.
Yeah.
Right. But I haven't seen a presentation of statistics. It might be that has happened before I started this position in June.
My sense is that you're going too fast, and yes, we can all collectively say that, but let's get some data. If we don't have any of that, how do we know we're in?
I love data,
We might
you
be
know me.
better.
I just
We
don't
might
have
be
I'm
better
guessing,
than-
$100,000
I'm
of
guessing we
data.
have that data, and it just,
Get the volunteers
I-
out there with speed guns. I mean,
Yeah.
just, I don't know. I think
On the road.
Well, let's.
I agree. I agree
Yeah.
with Ryan. We need to get the safety committee.
Yeah.
We can't put something on the warrant article
Yeah.
without a formal
Let's,
presentation.
let's push this to a subsequent meeting
This is an April meeting.
and get the right
June
folks
meeting.
here.
But yes, there has
Yes.
been a lot of public feedback on raising of the speed limits, and it's,
Yeah.
okay, all right. So,
Jason.
Jason,
Thank you, Jason.
thank you, for attending. Thank you for the information in the packet. We'll probably bring in the safety committee just so we can get their perspective on this.
Sure. Thank
So-
you for your time this evening.
Great.
Thanks, Jason.
All right,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
So we will not be taking a position on this.
Not
No, the
this
David will.
Whatever.
Well, to your point, like when you look at, it's like a $16,000 study, you go, okay, but then it's,
Yeah,
then.
it's just,
100
there's something we don't understand, because other towns are doing it, and they aren't doing every road in creation. So there's gotta be, maybe we have to ask Simon, like, can't you just, like people wanna go slower, the MGL should like that, right?
Well, anyway,
Well, maybe.
let's move on. And we'll schedule the safety committee to come in and speak with us.
Julie.
Item 6. Now, this is, come on up, Julie. This is, my understanding, a fairly procedural request. So you're looking for us to
We'll try
refer,
not to give you a hard time.
so we can keep this as simple and brief as it needs to be.
Exactly.
You're looking for us to simply refer an article to the planning board,
Yep.
Yes,
or refer a proposed amendment to the planning board, not take a
Right.
position on it.
right.
Just-
Yeah, exactly. No position required. It's really procedural.
Yes.
We've done this a few times in the last couple of years where the planning board submits a
Right.
zoning bylaw amendment to the select board and asks the select board to refer it back to them, to have the hearing and bring it to town meeting. So that's what they're asking for.
Okay.
It's related to zoning bylaw section 6.3. I can go into a little detail if you want.
But we're not taking a position on the proposed
Right.
amendment.
Right.
Would we do that at another meeting, or are we looking?
So they have to go through their process and
Mhm.
come
Okay.
back to.
Yeah, so we have language, town council, wrote for us. Basically, this came up at a zoning board meeting, and the zoning board, requested that the planning board take it up and fix it.
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah.
From years of
I know.
doing this. And this is a sea change in what the zoning board has done, though, of sorts.
A sea change.
Sea meaning like a major.
This is a major change.
This is a major thing that we had been part of the bylaw, that we had adjudicated for years
Okay.
a certain way, and then the attorneys have looked at it differently now and said, we don't think you can do it. I will let you, I don't mean to
Yeah, so
steal your.
I knew you were on the zoning board, so I thought you might have some thoughts about it.
Right.
It is essentially the language that's on the screen that's, read and like struck out doesn't align with the statute, the zoning statute. So the zoning statute, which is also known as Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 6, sets the floor on how non-conforming structures and uses are supposed to be treated by zoning boards. And so we can't be stricter than that. And this bylaw is stricter than that. And so town council has said we can't enforce it and we should fix it.
Okay. So this amendment is to bring it into compliance with.
Correct.
It's not a subjective, strategic, it's.
No, it's really just to align with state law. Those are all the things I basically just said. The zoning board, wants to address it sooner than later. I'm working to quantify this, but I would say at least half, if not more, of the applications that I've seen come before them have been under this section of the zoning bylaw.
And so what have they been doing?
This is the 50%.
A lot of math,
Yeah.
a lot of calculations.
But are they enforcing something that's not?
Yes, for
Correct.
years.
Yes.
Years. And we didn't know it, or I shouldn't say we, I didn't know.
I'm
Travis
surprised. I
I
love
didn't
how
know.
much you know about this. It's like so good.
So we gotta fix it.
6.3, come
Well,
on, man.
it's like one
Yeah.
of the few things that the zoning board of appeals does. If you have a non-conforming
Right.
lot and people then want to expand their non-conforming structure or their home, even if, I guess the structure could
Yeah.
be conforming within, but it's on a non-conforming lot,
Yeah.
the over 50%,
Yeah.
they couldn't do that. And so we would have to, evaluate that. We spend a lot of time about measurements and what the size of the home is and what's included, what's not.
Mhm.
And so this is a whole new way of approaching this, because it basically says you can't do that anymore.
And if the
Right.
town doesn't
Yeah,
approve
that's
this.
right. That's exactly right. So basically, like, the advice we've been given from town council is to not enforce it. Right. So if the town doesn't approve it at town meeting, it's just in the bylaw, but we're not enforcing it.
But the planning board may ultimately want to have or the town really may want to have some constraints on this, because there was, in the 70s this past, or 60s, 1960s.
Yeah, do you wanna go to the history slide, or
Sure.
giving the presentation for me?
No,
Travis. So yeah, so it went, I did a little research, it looks like it was added in 1962, and then in 1975, the zoning statute changed. So
It's only been 50 years.
it's possible, I obviously can't confirm that, town council might be able to, that it's been about 50 years, that it's really not been something that we should have been enforcing. But the zoning board had an application earlier this year that they were grappling with, like, what to do about it, and so I suggested we get a legal opinion, and then this is why we're here.
So if we're gonna prove that you look at it, and you present it at a town meeting and it gets passed, then you have something that can be enforced,
Yeah, then we have language that basically aligns with the zoning statute.
which means you could, in the Travis example,
No, you can't.
if
You
it
can no
passes,
longer-
then
You're
you,
just-
you're done. You're grandfathered in for what you have, but you can't extend it. Is that what you were saying?
No, I'm not saying.
It's complicated.
Yeah, it's more complicated.
I mean, is it a good thing to have this?
Well,
I know we have to
follow
conform.
the law.
You have to follow
Right,
the law.
and so that's what this corrects.
Right.
But then what I'm saying is that it, going forward.
Creates other
we may wanna have other bylaws that,
Correct.
that.
Okay.
Because I think, I don't know for sure, but the thought in 1962, Carlisle said, if you're on a non-conforming lot, we don't want you to expand more than 50%.
Right.
You know, and so there must have been a sentiment that we don't want this, so
Right.
we'd adhere to that. So the question is, does Carlisle want that going forward?
Right.
Because we're about to say, it's against the law, what we've been doing, we can't
So
enforce it
if I
anymore.
live on a non-conforming lot or whatever, in this passes or what, that's all I can't expand or whatever. unless-
Beyond, up
Yeah,
to
okay,
Beyond
great.
50%, because how we've
That's
currently
good.
dealt with it.
Sounds good to me.
No,
Okay.
but you
No,
can't
but-
do that going
So
forward.
we're
But
taking that
we're taking
out.
that away, David.
Right.
So you can do whatever you want? or you
No, I
do
can, I have
nothing?
some
No.
graphic examples if you wanna see, like,
Sure.
what you can do.
Regardless, all we need to do tonight is.
No, I
refer
know,
it
but
back
I mean,
I love this
we're just
conversation.
curious about, okay.
Don't learn these things.
The other
So,
meeting. on
No,
this.
new nonconformity.
so I can explain this
Yeah.
slide a little bit. So basically, on this slide, both of these examples contemplate like a 1 acre lot in a 2 acre zoning district, right? So the lot's non-conforming, but the structure, the brown structure that's there, in both cases is conforming. So in the case on the left, the proposed addition is within the setback area, so it doesn't create any new nonconformities, right? So it doesn't matter what size it is, if it's 50%, 60%, whatever.
So that would be
doesn't matter.
okay in any of these.
This is okay, this could get a building permit, right?
Yeah.
In the example on the right, that addition like infringes on the setback,
Right.
that has to go to the zoning board.
Right. And that's the today version, or that's
That
what
is
would be
the-
if we passed?
That's what's been in the zoning statute since
Okay.
1975.
So what's the then? if-
And that's what we would be aligning our language with. So the zoning
Okay.
board would only be weighing in on the example on the right.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of different ways this can play out, so I have another slide with a couple other examples, but, so basically, if you have a non-conforming structure on a non-conforming lot, right, so in this case,
Yeah.
again, like a 1 acre lot in a 2 acre zone, and then you have the brown existing house infringing on the setback in both examples. On the left, the proposed addition doesn't extend the non-conforming condition
Right.
or exacerbate
So you don't make
it.
things worse.
So you can do that.
Right.
On the right,
Special permit.
if you extend that non-conforming setback, you need to
Yeah.
go to the zoning board.
Makes perfect sense
Yeah.
to me.
So that's how
Yeah.
it works.
Right.
And
Does
we'll-
that make sense to you?
Mhm. And is the planning board, the warrant, the language that you, is that what they're gonna present at town meeting? Or are they still having discussions around what they're gonna present at town meeting?
Yeah, so that language is from town council, it's the language the zoning board prefers, it's the cleanest. The planning board also prefers that language, they still have to have their public hearing, so it might change slightly. And they're also gonna bring in town council to kind of talk them through it, cause it is a big change. And there's even members on the planning board that made decisions about their properties based on this section of the zoning bylaw.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
they're trying to wrap their minds around it and make sure they fully understand it, so there's still more work to be done,
It's one
but.
of the biggest things that people came to the zoning board of appeals for, was that provision.
Right.
And here, we'd enforced it for years, and it'll be interesting, I mean, what if you, I guess you could just do it now if you had a non-conforming structure, you were denied before, or we,
And are there other avenues to mitigate this, or
So
no?
yes.
Like, do you have
So
to pass a
we-
bylaw, or how do you?
Right, so the first step is just cleaning up the bylaw, right? The second step, the planning board talked about this last night, might be to like put in some different parameters in a different section of the zoning bylaw. Because we have other ways of regulating structures. We just can't have it tied to the section 6.3
So that might be a
special
fall
permit,
town
non-conforming use section.
Yeah.
I don't, it would be a future,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
So they could put this language in somewhere else in the bylaw. They could put in language restricting floor area ratio. They could, there's a whole bunch of different things. Like you can have standards and regulations in your zoning, right?
They're not gonna have that
Just can't.
for town meeting, they're not gonna
No,
have that.
no.
Just this
Yeah,
one.
no, just
Yeah.
this for now, just to like make the bylaw a little neater and tidier.
All right, well,
Yeah.
I'd like to move to refer the proposed amendment to Carlisle zoning bylaw, section 6.3, to the planning board.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's do a roll call.
Arnold, I.
Modell, aye.
Snell, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Triola, aye.
Very good.
We refer it back to the planning board,
Great, and the
Thank
planning
you.
board hearing will be on April 13th.
April 13th.
Okay.
Mark it on my calendar.
Yeah, they're great.
I'm so glad you got to see every slide I made. I wasn't sure, I was like, it's procedural, it might be.
Someone can
Well
explain to
done.
me what
Yeah.
Thanks for being here in person, yeah.
I'll save that for my homework. I'm assuming it's like when you're not in line with setback or something.
Correct.
Oh,
Correct, or your lot size is less than 2 acres in the 2 acre
Oh.
zone.
All right, item 7, call of the caucus to nominate town officers to stand in the annual town election.
Our town clerk, Ashley Cody, is on the line.
Welcome, Ashley.
Hello, Ashley.
Hi, everybody. Good evening.
And so we need to accept this notice, is that correct?
Yes, this is just a piece of routine business. This is the call of the caucus, where nominations are made for the annual town election offices. And this just has to be signed off by the select board and posted by the constable in accordance with state law.
Great.
Okay, great. Someone want to make,
Anything else we should know? Ashley, or?
Just that this shows the open offices that will be up for election this year. There are some, routine terms that are expired, and there's a couple one-year terms on there because those are appointed unexpired terms that somebody was appointed to due to a resignation. So that's why there's just a couple of those one-year terms in there as well as the 3 years.
Okay.
Not appointed, they're elected.
Well, I move to accept the notice of town caucus as included in the packet.
Second.
for discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Modell, aye.
Snell, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Triola, aye.
Very good.
And then do we have something we need to sign tonight?
Just Scott.
Ooh.
Just Scott, that's in
Just
here.
Scott.
In the
Okay,
bedazzled folder.
okay.
Wait,
Great.
I'm gonna
Thank
save
you,
this.
Ashley. Good night.
Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you, Ashley.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, Ashley, yep.
We are going to move item 8, the employee contract renewal for Police Chief Amendola, to the March 24th for your request.
Yes, we have a bit of contract language to make sure that you understand, assuming the board agrees, and please review it. Let me know if there's anything you want to talk about. If there is anything you want to talk about, just tell me and we'll schedule an executive session. If you're good with the language, then we can move it to a public meeting. I just didn't want to negotiate in public.
Got it.
Okay, so that one we will be revisiting at our next meeting. Now we're on to the 5-year road maintenance plan. And so, as a bit of context, one of the items that the Finance Committee is looking for our input on is the road maintenance spend for fiscal '27. There's $800,000 budgeted. We, as a select board, have suggested that that might be an area that we evaluate. I think, and I see Mark here, but my understanding in talking to James is that the select board is basically looking for our direction on this. That
Finance committee.
Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah. The Finance Committee is looking for our direction on this, that they're not opposed to the $800,000 spend, but they're certainly open to us if we wanted to reduce that spend. And they're not familiar with all the particulars of it, so it's up to us.
Well, you indicated last time you seemed favorable to maybe clip $100K off of that this year with all this.
Well, yeah, I mean, And so this is all funded out of free cash, so it doesn't affect, at the end of the day, the tax rate on the taxpayer. It would allow us to maintain a reserve level a little bit over 12% if we reduce the 100K. The thinking around the 100K was if we have a 5-year road maintenance plan, one of the larger roads will be funded, we can just recalculate that spend based on the new total, and that would reduce 100K.
I'm favorable to that. You can always use it for your traffic study.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say that.
You notice it's now become your traffic study.
Well, here's what would here's what would get me more favorably. If the study showed that slower speeds maintain the quality of the roads longer.
Or mitigated the need to, or how about potholes slow people down? So maybe the answer is
Just
not
don't repair
speed
the
limits.
pothole. It's a reverse speed bump.
There you go. Right.
That is.
All right.
Much more dangerous.
Anyway, I would be in favor of just making it 700,000 this year.
Ryan, do you have any, I mean, I know you and Jim are, you have the plan and all that. I think this would just be rejiggering it and kind of leveling out the years.
We would bring this back to you, but we would take the DPW priority roads and the parity roads, and we would move them back a year and move everything back until you hit 2028, which would be fiscal 29, where Bedford Road has been paid for by the state.
So you'd bump a couple of roads and kind of fill that pothole, so to speak, in the.
Okay.
Do we have to vote this, or is it just sense of the
No,
committee?
if your guidance is good, then essentially the budget is done, assuming all of the other recommendations hold.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're just looking for our direction on this, and I can certainly let James know.
No,
And there's-
Christine and Travis, well,
Yeah.
everybody should say.
I think it sounds reasonable. I mean, it fits what were our goals, what we're trying to do.
Yeah, it's
Christine?
fine with me.
Okay.
Great.
And Barney had a question. I just want to make sure the whole board
Yeah.
about culverts. So there was about $470,000 in culvert money in the plan. We've cut that down to $30,000. The idea is we would do a $250,000 study and design of 4 culverts, so that we had
Oh, right, the
much
top
more,
4, the big 4.
much more clarity on costs. If we are going to seek a grant for that, if we get the grant, then we would use that whole 300 to repair one of them and get that off the books. If we don't get the grant, then at least we're ready for the future.
Yep.
So the culverts was already reduced down from 470 to 300.
Okay, great.
Okay.
We're also gonna write the capital article to be road maintenance and culverts and road maintenance, so that we can have
Put them
flexibility.
together, yeah.
And you can do that, that's allowable?
We can call it whatever we want. It's, yeah, as long as the town agrees.
Good.
But that's within the capital items article.
It'll say culverts and road maintenance,
Okay.
and it'll say road maintenance and culverts.
It'll be 2 different articles?
2 different lines in the capital plan.
Okay. So either way, you have flexibility.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yes, I don't know.
Well, so you wouldn't want, like, if a culvert came up and it was 400,000, maybe we take 100 from the road plan to do that culvert, so you just want some flexibility.
Why do you need 2 can't you just lump it under one
Yeah, why
line
can't you
item
do
that
that?
says road maintenance and culverts?
We can.
I mean, I would do that rather than having a road maintenance
Why
and
don't you do that?
culvert,
Right.
and
Keep it
culvert and
simple,
road
yeah.
like,
It'll just confuse.
if you can do it, just put it in one bucket.
I find that either way it'll confuse, but we will.
I would
Why are you
support
spending
this.
so much in road maintenance?
And culverts.
The only reason,
But you've
Scott,
got-
for not doing that is historical tracking,
Yeah, okay.
so I don't care.
But we'll do whatever you want.
To your point, it would end up being over $1 million if you did it as one.
Maybe there's that reason too.
Okay, yeah,
Leave it
point
separate.
taken.
All right.
Okay.
And then so then the final budget will come back to us
At our next meeting.
at our next meeting to be, for a vote,
If you're ready.
if we're ready. Okay, and what's it gonna show in terms of how much cash reserve we're applying to the budget? Because that was the
That'll be
cause
part
of a
of
lot
this.
of concern.
So the cash, that'll go down 100K,
It'll be 100K less than it was before.
like 1.8 roughly, which is still high, but we're also ending the year with over 12% reserve, which
Right.
is high, so
Yeah,
it's
Okay.
good.
It's okay.
It's a nice compromise.
okay,
And, yeah, so a good portion of our next meeting will be on the budget.
Okay, great.
Let's move on to the Benfield Farm tour follow-up and discussion. So we did a tour of Benfield 2 weeks ago?
I think it was just last Wednesday, wasn't it?
It was the Wednesday after our last meeting.
So 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, almost 2 weeks ago. So we had a chance to tour the facility and also meet with residents and hear some of the issues that they had raised, which is in the minutes. So this is a chance to kind of debrief on that. I mean, for my part, I think, the building itself is nice. However, it's pretty clear that there are some basic aspects of service and maintenance that the residents feel like they're not getting. In addition, the larger concerns to, making sure that the building is properly maintained, not only with the little things we saw, but the larger issues that, 15 years old,
Yeah.
roughly? It's gonna require capital investment and improvement from NOAA. And I think it's important that, we confirm with them that those plans are in place. I think Ryan's suggestion is one that is interesting, is that, we work with NOAA to understand the long-term capital plan as a town, is there a way that we can provide, not only like we do with the COAHS, doing services there, is there a way that we can support a defined level of maintenance in some areas to help residents?
Maintenance focused on quality of life.
Yeah. But the concern there is you don't want to do NOAA's work.
No, well, we are doing Noah's work even in that, but it would be okay with me to say to NOAA if they, again, we've told them, that they've agreed before and not done it.
Yeah.
But it's like, no kidding, okay, you guys said you're not doing the little things because you're trying to save your money for the big things. So let's get a schedule of the big things, let's get your commitment to do them, and I'll tell you what, we'll help you out and do some of the small things. And then we'll see if they do what they're supposed to do. That's like
Yeah,
the
they
step
don't have a
before
good
the
track-
lawsuit.
Right.
Yeah.
The problem is, what's the consequence if they don't do what?
I think you have to sue them, I mean, at some point.
Who has to
Legal.
sue them?
The residents. They have to.
And
Jeez.
that's one
We-
of the real challenges.
But we
Yes.
need to do what we can do to try to make that not happen. I-
Well, it's how do we, we have Senator Barrett coming in next week.
Then we can ask him, right.
You can ask the right question. I think part of the question that I don't know is NOAA getting state funding to support the operation? And if
Right.
so,
What's up with that?
what's up with that?
Yeah, yeah.
And is there influence that can be brought from a state level?
I mean, they are, I don't know this, let me not say that. It appears that they're taking advantage of a vulnerable population, because my sense in listening to the people, there are certain people who are, more vocal and maybe more militant, who might rally around a escrowing of rent, a more decisive action. But there's a lot of people who are like, I'm old and I don't want to be kicked out,
Right,
and
I'm
I'm
not-
okay,
right,
leave me
right.
alone, just, I'm okay. And I think, to some degree, they're the situation is taking advantage of their vulnerability, and that's not fair, and that's why we have to, I think, do something.
And for for whoever's left from the public, I mean, things like washing the windows at some point, there's a microwave oven that broke in
simple
the
stuff.
common room that
But
hasn't
I
been
like that
replaced.
idea, we could do some simple stuff, even if
Simple
it's.
stuff, but that should be an agreement and
Right.
defined with
Exactly.
NOAA.
So let's
Right.
try to.
As someone,
So when would we, who would approach NOAA and we would try to get them in then, right? We'd have to have a meeting with them, not maybe.
yeah, I don't know if it would be the entire
It would-
select board.
It doesn't need to be, you're right.
No, we could designate,
Scott?
David.
No, I mean, I would take it. I would take it. I actually, I feel.
No, I mean, I think we have to, some of that logistics, we have to figure out the best way forward. And do we involve, can we get like someone from the state or someone
yeah,
Yeah, right.
who's
exactly.
involved in this
Right.
that can exert a little more influence than just Carlisle?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't sound like our past conversations with them have yielded much change of behavior.
Right.
Right, so what changes?
And there
in
may
that?
have been some turnover on their side. I know that the site manager's the same guy, but I don't know about leadership. It might have changed, I don't know.
Well, Phil Giffey's still the CEO, but
Oh, is he? Okay.
But it's a nice building. I mean, it's, in theory, if it's properly maintained and.
Okay.
And
So what's the action then?
So the action is, one, we'll have a question or line of conversation with Mike Barrett next week.
Yeah.
And then
In 2 weeks, right? Yeah.
2 weeks. And then Ryan will figure out the right contact at NOAA and see who, like, let's think about who that gathering should be of and what we want to ask of them. I mean, I think we can put that together in a.
We had that meeting
Yeah.
a year ago.
Yeah. So how do we change, so we
And I-
change our tactic. So let's understand that.
Well, one thing, I'm wondering, I don't know how much work this would involve, Ryan, if, to have somebody on staff try to figure out whether there is a state agency that has some leverage with NOAA, whether it's, approvals or it's
Regulatory,
grant
whatever.
funding or whatever it is, so that we know if there's any, like, can Senator Barrett, can we, so we'd know that ahead of time in talking with him.
I like the idea of
And could
finding out
even-
where their funding sources are.
And even let let his staff know ahead of time that this is a problem and we want to ask him about it. So maybe they do the research. I don't know, but, right, I don't know what we're talking about in terms of time or who would do that on our staff.
When we met with them, did we talk about providing some service? Like, we bring something to the table? Or was it more, we want to know your capital plan?
So like most issues, if they were sitting here, they would have a counter story
Yeah.
that you may or may not find compelling about their financial situation and about how they believe they're handling things, and it's not what you heard
Right.
from the
But that's
record.
okay. I think at the end of the day, they can't do nothing, financial hardship or not. They're
Well-
collecting rent and doing nothing. So it's time to get a schedule hammered out. Now, their schedule may be stretched, and they may say this project's not necessary, but there are certain things we saw.
Right.
And you maybe have to agree to get an independent third assessor in there to, determine really, instead of he said, she said, like, yes, this HVAC system is not compliant, not working, or something, right? I mean, there needs to be, like in any dispute, you're right, both sides are gonna have their position, but if there's any will to reach a settlement, then there are mechanisms like third parties that maybe we pay for that consulting,
So the-
something like that. And
I'll put it
Right.
a different way.
Yeah.
They think they're meeting the basic standards. So there's nothing the staff can do to compel them otherwise, unless you're willing to do more.
Yeah.
Like hold them accountable. So you're the landowner.
Isn't there
Yeah,
some
but-
state office that's like a housing, when you're in a dispute with your landlord, there are places you can go, right? Statewide, that say the landlord's not doing what he's supposed to do. I think we have more leverage than we've exercised. I think we just kind of,
Well, and also we've now.
Political leverage than you think.
maybe
Yeah.
more
Correct.
financial
You said
leverage.
we
too.
have on the land, true, but I think they have a 99-year lease or whatever, so they're kind of insulated relative to.
But if we as a town go to whatever state board is in charge of bad landlords,
Politically, that's right. I think
we can make more
you
trouble
wanna
for
do-
them than they can make for
You
us.
want
I'm
it
telling you
to
right
be
now.
the approach.
And
But it may not have to be as adversarial
It
at
doesn't
first,
need to be.
And we tried sitting with them, asking them for a capital plan. We haven't seen that,
Right.
right?
Yeah, they're,
And so it's gonna continue until, I think, until there's some amount of leverage compelling them to do something.
I'm just trying to convey, this isn't a situation where they like know they're doing something wrong and they're
Sure.
they're
Ah,
treating
that's-
you like they
that's-
believe that they are doing the
That's-
right
but-
thing.
That's not true.
But
But
do you-
having seen with
That
our
is not-
eyes the things that are happening in the building,
I agree with you, but they don't, is my
But-
point.
They're gonna say they don't, but they actually, I
They-
don't believe that, so.
yeah.
I don't think we need to debate it
No,
anymore.
but I guess,
I'm very clear in my mind about how.
I mean,
If
what do you, they're gonna say, what do you have to offer? What are state's
No, we're gonna say,
requirements?
no, we're gonna say, we have to agree on the scope of the problem. We realize that you have your point of view, the residents have theirs. So come with us, let's go through the list, let's bring a third-party assessor, let's do something not arbitrary.
Arbitrator?
Like an arbitrage. Like, let's agree on the list of things that some independent authority agrees, these must be fixed. then we can sit down and talk about who should fix them and who should contribute and over what schedule. But let's get like data, right? Let's just do it the right way. And they say, okay, I'll go to the state. I mean, we have other means to make their life miserable. I guarantee you. And I don't want to start with that, but may get there. It wouldn't be that hard.
You sound like just the person.
I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, I
they're-
think you
I
would
think
be a
that
good
group's
person.
And I'm on the CAHT, and maybe that's the role for it, I mean, it is that, so,
Yeah,
anyway. They annoy me, so I would be very
know.
happy to.
Who
Scott,
knows?
what are you looking
Noah.
for
Noah.
out of this?
Noah.
Way they-
It was really just to debrief, and then I think we gotta take it offline and figure out our next steps. But we do wanna bring it up to Senator Barrett next
Start
week.
with that.
And then,
Has Simon weighed in at all?
no, I don't think, has he?
you previously talked to him
Have
about it.
we heard, I mean, I guess we have met with them, but does it, when you're,
To talk about
To-
Benfield?
yeah, we had met, not with Senator Barrett,
I mean, with
No.
We've met
Simon.
with Noah.
Oh.
I'm saying, does it make sense? I mean, typically, when we evaluate these things, we get both sides. We have only
Yeah.
had, we had a select board meeting at the site with the constituents that,
Was Noah aware we were there? Did we notice them? Did we invite them to attend?
We did not.
Okay.
Well, and to me, it's partly what you're asking is take accusations off the floor. Like, there are concerns about the building maintenance and sustainability long-term.
Right.
Requesting what the capital plan is a reasonable request.
I mean, you
If they
can't
don't
look
do
at a
that-
ceiling that has evidence of water and say that problem doesn't exist. You cannot say that.
I'm not defending them.
No, I
I'm
know
just saying
that.
the
No, I'm-
process, I'm just saying, think about what our process is, because you're all process,
Right.
David.
Yeah.
But we've done one thing. Do we need to, the next
I
step?
think we can't operate in a vacuum. I mean, I believe that it would be, I guess it's Phil, he's the CEO. Say, we want to come visit you. We'll come to your office. Let's just sit down and chat about what we think we've seen. You tell us your side. Do it friendly, right? I mean.
And I think we're willing to, we're saying
And
that
then let's
town
see if we
may be
can reach
willing to
some
do
kind of, let's
quality of
figure out
life.
some path forward.
Okay.
There's been bad blood, admittedly, both sides maybe. We're not here to take a side on that.
We're
But
just
we-
trying to solve
We
problems.
want to solve the problem. That's all we want to do.
And we
Let's
want
try
to know
solve
that you have the
Right.
plans in place, and we're willing to, as a town, assuming it was approved, to do quality of life, to support quality of life improvements.
So I'm with you, and I'll do whatever
Yeah.
you say, but this will be the fourth time that I do that.
Yeah.
They do not care about the individual meeting with me and another member.
No, you get, I mean, it's a preliminary.
That's why
Eventually,
we
there's a
suggested
legal
the select
document.
board need is to
You get to a legal document that both parties sign,
have
that
the-
they agree.
We had a
And if they
meeting
unagree,
where
they're
we
in
met
breach.
with the
Yeah, we did-
neighbors.
And you
We
have
had
a pretty
meeting
clear path
Where we
forward.
meet with Noah.
Right?
Well, the
I just
other
need to know
thing
you're
is
willing
we
to do that.
reach out to
I'm
his
willing.
board. Right? He has a board,
Yeah.
and we
Well,
reach
do
out
we
to the
invite 'em
board.
all to a-
No, I was gonna go the other way. We reach out to we write something to his board to say, we are concerned about
Well,
the,
then we could call for a board-to-board meeting if you
Yeah.
want to do that. But
Yeah.
that's kind of an escalation step
yes.
above, right? Anyway, all right. Let's start with Mike Barrett.
With what?
Mike Barrett.
Well, I mean, I think we gotta think about the tactics, and we should offer we met with the residents. We should request a meeting with Noah at Benfield to walk us through the building.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to hear
That
the
would be a good-
perspective,
yeah.
and when we ask about,
That's what I'm suggesting.
what
Right.
about those, leak stains, and how often do you wash these windows? Like, just,
And the light bulb's not being changed.
Um,
because they don't
Ryan,
have a-
I wanna see
you
the
said the
apartment-
fourth
that
meeting
apartment.
you've
The
had.
board and see
So are
if
you
we
able
can
to,
repeat
like,
around.
timeline
Well,
those
maybe it's-
meetings, like,
maybe
just
it's more than the
for
board.
us to
Maybe
say?
Oh,
it's
once a
Simon or
year.
somebody there.
I know, but can you say, in 2024, we met and they said this and they didn't do that? I mean, do you have that data?
Political.
Okay, Travis was at one of them too.
Okay. And Kate was doing it, right?
Kate was at one of them. She's in.
Did,
France.
did he come out to Benfield, or where'd you meet?
At Ferns.
Oh,
No, it should be I agree. It
At
should be
Benfield.
Meet at Benfield.
yeah.
I think that's a great
It
idea.
was
that
the
a
same
one-
coffee
I
and
wanna see
donuts.
that one room, too.
A
that they were
board,
mentioning.
another off-site board meeting at Benfield with.
Counterpoint.
With
Their board.
Counterpoint. I think that's the
Invite their board,
appropriate
yeah.
way of,
Okay.
because we're.
Okay.
Okay, we're frittering away our time advantage.
Hi.
Hey, Eric.
Sorry, did I leave a mug?
I don't think so.
No, but what, no.
All right, sorry to bother you.
Okay.
You're welcome to stay.
Okay, so we'll have follow-up points on that one. Let's move on to the TA report.
Yep.
Ryan, hit it.
All right, here's my TA report for March 10th. The next coffee hour will be March 24th, 10 a.m. here at Town Hall. I'm sure that everyone's going to want to talk about the fire station design. What else did we talk about tonight? It's been a long night.
Speed limits.
Speed limits, for sure. Come in, talk about the budget and all other items. Speaking of the budget and town meeting warrant article items, we will be putting out a podcast series in April. A lot of the warrant article submitters are following the marketing plan that our town meeting study committee has told them would be a good idea. So you should be on the lookout for all of that information on our social media and podcasting, and of course, schedule a meeting with us anytime to go over the details. Many of those we talked about tonight. For department updates, Gretchen and the town clerk office organized a comprehensive training seminar for town volunteers. It was very well attended. I was able to come in virtually from drill, and the training was very good. We're following up with, we're starting we don't know the cadence yet, but a monthly communication to volunteers on training items of interest. And of course, we'll invite chairs in and new volunteers in the summer. So this is the select board's goal to continue to beef up the knowledge of our volunteers. Civil engineers and house doctors. So unbelievably, it's been 3 years since the town appointed its house doctor firms, and we think that was a worthwhile investment, and we're going to be putting that out to bid again. And the last time we looked for architecture, building envelope, civil engineer, and MEP and FP, a lot of those have come in front of you in various things, definitely the MFC and other items. So we're recommending that the board reappoint Nitch and Gale, which are two of our civil engineering house doctor firms, and then another one that's used quite a bit by planning board that we like, which is Land Tech. So because it's horizontal engineering, we don't need to put it out to bid. So we're hoping that you'll allow us to appoint those as our on-call civil engineers. And then the other three disciplines will be put out to bid, and that should be finalized in April. All the contracts that we have existing, even the ones that we think we're gonna do, are still binding until that time, so there's no gap in coverage.
Should we go ahead and do that motion then, right now?
Yeah.
If you're willing.
Okay. I move to reappoint Nitch, Gale, and Land Tech to continue serving as the town's, quote, house doctor, unquote, civil engineering firms.
Second.
Any discussion or deliberation? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Modell,
Snell, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Triola, aye.
All right, doing a ton of procurement, and one of them is the Proctor Road Tower cellular lease. That is out to bid right now. That information will be coming to you in April prior to town meeting, and then town meeting must approve any lease that's done. We did have one firm come out and evaluate the area. We let them in, so we do know at least one provider is set to bid. For budget updates, your next meeting will be your major decisions on expenditures, revenue, tax impact, the capital plan, which we discussed a little bit tonight, and those reserve levels. I will tell you that it has not changed much from the last presentation, except for the inclusion of the 2.5% COLA, which is a 0.5% increase on COLA, about $25,000. And now, with the decisions you've made on capital, the reserve levels are above 12%. So I do feel you've hit most of your budget goals.
And
Thanks to the Finance Committee.
And Brian, you included the information about the state's budget and the recommendation for chapter transportation funds, the highway?
90.
Yep.
90, what's the, is the lower number gonna be in the revenue side of the budget?
For Chapter 90?
Yeah,
So that really just offsets the 800,000. So you're really gonna be authorizing 680,000 in road maintenance after the $100,000 reduction tonight.
okay.
So that's a good segue. We're projected to receive 434,000 in Chapter 90.
Well, here it is.
This is
Great.
pending approval of the governor's $300 million proposal, which is almost a given. This is below the 450,000 we projected, but on par with past allocations. You could talk to Senator Barrett next week, in 2 weeks, about Chapter 90 and continued funding of infrastructure. As you know, it's making up the bulk of your capital plan. And it's way more impactful than something like state aid, which only goes up 5,000 to 10,000 a year. For capital projects, the elevator modernization project is set to begin when school ends. We've watched as our project architect vets all the submittals, and we're on track and on budget for that. We're also collaborating with our police and communications department to install the new CAD system. It's a complex integration, a lot of IT coordination, so thanks to the communications department for their work there. Town hall bathrooms just need a final touch, and that'll be done in the next week. So overall, pretty good project, just need the final touches in there. Still snow covering the cemetery, so no update. Diamond Park continues to move along. I'm watching that subcommittee with their evaluation of a potential new park. They're on pace to present something next year, but that study continues to move. And then Megan has found and has almost finalized an engineering firm to oversee our dam project. As you know, that dam project keeps holding us up. So we're looking to see what we're going to do: emergency repair, basic repair, final repair, and all together we're having a dam engineer help us understand that. And the Conservation Commission is all over this and following it closely. All right, building construction projects. The library is out to bid. It's out to bid right now, so we'll have numbers in mid-April, which is very exciting. The fire station renovation you talked about a lot about tonight. You've given the go-ahead to continue designing it and putting that one out to bid as well, pending some of the permitting discussions, so you'll have numbers next month as well there. And then the DPW renovation. So your building committee finalized the request for proposals to identify its design team. That'll go out this week, and that timeline will allow the DPW renovation building committee to serve as the designer selection for that process. So I'll keep you updated on that in case you want to follow along. That should select a designer and then give you a number for the design part of the DPW. Some upcoming discussion topics. Aubrey's still planning on finishing personnel policies with you and getting those final revisions to you by the end of the year. Senator Barrett's meeting with you has been discussed many times tonight. So you will be getting a note from me tomorrow sending your questions so we can put those together for the senator. And then you have a budget and town meeting coming up, if you couldn't tell. So we are, for approval notifications, I do have something that we need to run by you. So the staff is seeking a board's decision about the placement of rotary signs and the use of the town common by a group called the CC Action Team. So this group of Carlisle residents promotes community engagement around social justice issues. Their signage and activity are intended to publicize a Carlisle rally scheduled for March 28th, a No King's Day. The staff believes this request would need board approval as it exceeds our approval authority.
Because it's quasi-political? Or?
It could be conceived as political. We're not saying it is or it isn't. We just wanted you to weigh in.
Sure.
And just to clarify, use of town common, does it require select board approval in general?
If you want to give explicit approval,
I was just surprised on the form
common.
it says requires select board approval. So we should,
Yeah, it does
And there's-
require.
It does.
Select board, it
But
always
we
says.
delegated
but
it
it's-
to
yeah.
Brian
Okay.
or to, and
Right.
Okay.
But, I mean, we would not interfere with anyone's First Amendment rights if
Sure.
they just wanted to use the
Yeah, yeah,
town
yeah.
common. But
Right.
for explicit use and
Yeah.
approved use, then we do request that they submit it.
What do you need from us?
so you just,
Are we okay with it?
If you have no issues with it, we'll approve it.
the
I have no
question
issue.
was it you said, David, was it political? And is that
Well,
the?
I was
I've forgotten
asking
the
why
language
not,
we
let me
had.
rephrase, not is it political, is the reason it's not just being handled by our administrator, because, and he answered it, because
But-
it could be construed as.
Yeah.
But we have, haven't we allowed
Yeah,
the
we can allow
Republican and
Yeah, sure.
Democrat?
I have no issue.
Signs up there.
I have no issue.
Okay,
yeah, I don't have an issue with it.
I don't either.
Christine?
No issue. I think we would be, I can see how it'd be construed as political. I think, we'd give equal airtime to other similarly situated parties. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Great.
Okay, great. We flag the things when we think we need to talk
I
about them.
appreciate that.
We used to do a lot of work on that when you were chair. So we've also
That's why you
approved,
don't flag as many now.
we've
You got
also
it right.
approved the placement of pride flags on the town common and rotary. To be clear, nothing is allowed inside the actual monument area per our discussions last year. So when it says the rotary, it is in the designated
And
areas.
it's not Memorial Day.
And it is not Memorial Day.
And it's not political.
Yeah, right.
Remember that from our.
All right, for staff recognition, this is a name that you may not fully recognize, but Bill Linehan served as a veteran service officer in our regional district. He works for Karen, our veteran director, and steps in from time to time helping with Carlisle veterans. He served in government for 50 years, to include serving in veteran services for the last 13. I knew him from my previous job. He's a Vietnam-era Navy veteran who assists families with accessing federal, state, and local benefits, and he tells me he's going to continue to be present at the Patriot course at the VA, so just helping veterans play golf, just in a different way.
Oh, I gotcha.
Nice.
I hope he enjoys his retirement. I'd like to thank him for spending time helping veterans.
Great.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you,
thank you.
Bill.
You got a lot of dates coming up and a lot to talk about. And that is my report, unless you have any questions of me.
You got everything you needed from votes, correct?
Yep,
Yes.
very good.
All right, we'll quickly and briefly move on to liaison reports. It's not really a liaison report, but there was an invitation from Lexington to attend their Patriot Day festivities. If you're interested, just let me know, and I will let them know.
When is it?
Patriots Day.
Open.
I forget, the letter's in the packet.
It's the April,
April Patriots.
Well,
that Monday.
I'd be
yeah.
interested, that's a fun thing, actually.
I can RSVP on behalf of whoever's interested. I will unfortunately be traveling to the London, so maybe I'll do my own little parade there.
Yeah,
on
that's great.
Patriots Day.
Little reverse Patriots Day.
That's right.
Yeah. Wait, they invited whether the select, asked if our select board wanted to participate?
They invited Travis, who is the chair. I'm taking that as an invitation to our select board. So
Yeah,
I'll
I see.
reply with, if you send me, if you're interested,
I'm
I'll.
unavailable. You're on.
There's a letter here. that's-
David.
Is it in the packet?
I didn't see it in
I
the
thought
packet.
Gretchen said it was in the pack. It's in the, I'll send it around. I'll forward it
just
around.
send
Just
it.
let me know in the next, like,
Well, what's the,
I'll give you a deadline.
what date are
I
they
know.
actually
But
doing?
it'd be a fun
that?
event.
Is that
Is
it?
Concord
it's
doing
great.
anything?
No.
But that's usually the Monday, right?
Yeah, I would have gone last year if we didn't have
Monday.
the Concord
Is
thing.
that April something? Or when is it?
Yeah, isn't it the Monday of the school vacation?
Well, they invited us.
Any other liaison reports as people are looking at their,
No.
No,
Trying to figure
figure out when Patriots Day is?
out.
nothing from me.
Nope, just to, just a quick update that the Conservation Commission is having their first discussion about the revised LSC charter this coming Thursday.
Okay.
And then they are gonna have one more, they're gonna, encourage input, and then they're gonna have one more discussion before they vote
Okay, good.
on it.
No, I appreciate Conscom for taking that up.
Yep.
All right, community input. Christina? Mary Lynn? All right, hearing none, we can take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Hope you
Thank
feel
you.
better, Christine.
Great. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.